Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. This is story about what if Naruto takes his 3 years of training with Jiraiya seriously. Part 1. Before I start, please do support for more amazing content and comments for part 2. Do consider to subscribe my channel and share my video to your friends and check out the description as well. Let's start the video. It had been 2 weeks since Naruto left Konoha with Jiraiya. They were traveling down a road in the land of fire and the next town was in sight, but then Jiraiya suddenly walked off the path and towards a nearby lake, and Naruto followed. Naruto was a bit on the short side for his age at 4 feet 8 inches, and easily angered by this fact, with spiky blonde hair and blue eyes. He was wearing an orange tracksuit with blue shoulders, a white swirl with a tassel on the left side and a red swirl on the back, the symbol of the destroyed Uzushiobikure. He also wore a blue forehead protector of Konoha and blue standard shinobi sandals. Jiraiya was a tall man of about 6 feet 3 inches with extremely long spiky white hair tied in a ponytail with 2 shoulder-length bangs and had 2 red lines that ran down from his eyes. He wore a green shirt kimono with matching pants over mesh armor and a red cloak with 2 yellow spots along with a black belt, handguards, traditional Geta sandals, a horn forehead protector with the kanji for oil, and kept a large scroll on his back. "So, why are we going to this place, pervy sage, and when are you going to train me?" "All we've been doing is walking," Naruto asked as they continued to walk. Naruto had wondered when his real training was going to begin. He'd just been going over the basics, and he was anxious to learn some cool, new technique from the Sannin. "Damn it, brat, how many times have I told you not to call me that?" the Sannin asked, exasperated. Though it was hard to tell if he was annoyed at being called a pervert in public, or if the self-proclaimed super pervert was annoyed at being called a regular pervert. "I call them as I see them," the blonde replied while crossing his arms. "If you want me to stop calling you that, stop spending all your time peeking on women," said Naruto as he looked at the man. Kids these days will get started as soon as I'm done with my contact in this town. You need to learn to be patient. Your lack of it and hot-headedness could get you killed someday," Jiraiya said. "Anyway, for today, I want you to practice water walking and holding leaves to your body with your chakra. Your chakra control's still not what it could be. You need to master your chakra in order to form the Rasengan perfectly." "That's exactly what I'm talking about. You haven't taught me anything since we left, and I already know the Rasengan." "Would you listen to your teacher? Although it's true you can use Rasengan, you have far from mastered it. You still need a shadow clone to control the rotation and shape," Jiraiya said while holding out his hand. Naruto watched as a Rasengan formed in his palm. "A battle can go to hell in an instant, and your method takes more time you might not have. On top of that, you waste chakra in the shadow clones. While you have an overabundance of chakra, that doesn't mean you should waste it," Jiraiya explained with a frown. Naruto looked to the ground and thought before quickly turning his head. Fine," Naruto scoffed. "Stay here and practice, don't worry, I'll start teaching you soon enough," the Sannin said as they reached the lake. "Good luck, kid." Jiraiya waved at Naruto as he walked towards the town. Lazy perv, can't even stay and help me for a while. Bet he'll go straight to a brothel when he's done, if he even does have a contact to meet," Naruto grumbled as he walked onto the lake and began to practice his chakra control. 3 hours later, Naruto was standing on the lake making a hand sign to focus his chakra and holding 5 leaves to his body with chakra with a somewhat somber expression on his face. He had, for a while, moved and practiced taijutsu while doing still keeping the leaves attached, but this was much more difficult, and at the moment he was resting. Since he began his training 2 weeks ago, his chakra control had improved a little, but he was still nowhere near having enough control to form a Rasengan without one of his clones to rotate the chakra and maintain its shape. As he stood there, his mind wandered and he recalled every fight he had been in. Every major fight he had been in he had won either by using the Kyuubi or by luck. His fight against Haku, Orochimaru, Neji, Gaara, though Naruto thought that didn't really count, as Gaara had relied on the Shikaku, and Sasuke, he had tried to fight them with everything he had, and when it wasn't enough, he had relied on the Kyuubi. His other major fights, against Kiba and Kabuto, which he did win on his own, were either due to dumb luck, though the 5-pronged seal had been messing with his chakra control at the time, or because he was underestimated and toyed with. "Damn it, what have I been doing all this time?" he thought to himself as he stared at his reflection in the water and continued to review all the battles he had fought. Then he recalled his battle against Itachi and Kisame, if you could call what had happened a fight. He recalled how Kisame's sword literally ate his chakra. The Kyuubi's chakra was useless against him. He knew he couldn't rely on it all the time, that event just proved it. That power was dangerous. He remembered with a slight shudder the bloodlust he felt when he used it against Haku. How he had nearly killed the androgynous teen in rage and thirst for blood. That power was a last resort, and it carried many risks at the moment. He thought of both his senseis and the 5 Hokage, 5 of them didn't even have bloodlines, and they were still some of the most powerful shinobi Konoha had ever produced. Looking up with a new determination, he realized that if he truly wanted to accomplish his dream and become the greatest Hokage, he would need to be strong enough to fight opponents like the Akatsuki without relying on the Kyuubi. He stopped supporting the leaves and ran towards the town, sure that after all this time, Jiraiya had finished with his contact and was probably enjoying himself at a bar or something. He created a dozen shadow clones and sent them to look for the Toad Sage while he did the same. 10 minutes later he was hopping across the buildings of the town when he suddenly remembered seeing him in a bar, surrounded by women. Why am I not surprised? Hey, wait a minute, how did I know that? Naruto proceeded to run to the bar to see if what he saw was true, and sure enough, found him at the bar, surrounded by girls. With a sigh, Naruto decided to ask him about this later, and for now grab a snack and get back to training. He didn't notice Jiraiya saw him and smiled. He had noticed the shadow clone and suspected Naruto now knew about, or at least suspected, their memory transfer ability. He had wanted Naruto to realize it on his own. What are you looking at, sir? One of the women asked. Oh, nothing, now let's get back to having a good time. Ha ha. 2 hours later Jiraiya finally returned to the lake where Naruto had resumed training and found him fighting a shadow clone on the lake while holding several leaves to his body with chakra. Naruto just blocked a high kick from his clone with his forearms when they noticed Jiraiya's presence and stopped their fight, the clone dispelling as Naruto ran over. Finally! I was wondering when you would finally get out of that bar, pervy sage. Naruto said. Yeah, I noticed you saw me there. When you left I didn't think you had a problem with letting me have my fun. Jiraiya replied with a smirk. Of course there's a problem. You're supposed to be training me, but so far you've been spending all your time peeking more at bars and leaving me to work by myself. That's not true, I haven't spent all my time with the ladies. I just wanted to unwind a bit after I finished with my contacts. Oh yeah? Then what was so important that you needed to go off in the first place? Oh, nothing you need to worry about. Truth was Jiraiya had made a contact for any new information on Akatsuki and the other Jinchuriki, but he didn't think Naruto needed to know that, or at least not at the moment. Anyway, it's getting late. Let's call it a night, and I can start training you tomorrow, the Sannin said, gesturing towards the town. Alright, Naruto replied, not entirely trusting he wouldn't be blown off again. But first, I noticed something about my shadow clones. When I sent them to find you, I think I remembered what my clone saw when it found you and dispelled. Huh, so you did finally notice. Jiraiya grinned. I was wondering when you would. Wait, you knew about this the whole time? Did Kakashi-sensei know? Why didn't anyone tell me? Naruto asked, surprised. I didn't tell you because I wanted you to find out on your own. Like I said when you were learning the Rasengan, you need to learn to depend on yourself. As for Kakashi, he probably didn't tell you because he was focused on Sasuke. Jiraiya said with a frown, becoming serious. Naruto looked at the ground dejectedly at the mention of Kakashi favoring Sasuke. Noticing this, Jiraiya decided to explain. Kakashi didn't favor Sasuke, he focused on him for 2 reasons. The first is a childhood friend he had who was an Uchiha, so he may have felt he owed the clan. Jiraiya explained and Naruto looked up at him, surprised to learn something about his sensei's past. It's his story to tell, so I won't speak of it any further. The second reason is that he could tell Sasuke was heading down a dark path and was trying to save him. But as you can tell, it didn't work. Jiraiya explained. Naruto for once seemed deep in thought. Talking about Sasuke reminded him of something. Hey, pervy sage. Naruto said quietly. Why did you tell me to forget Sasuke just before we left? I didn't want you to end up like me, Jiraiya said. Naruto looked at him curiously, not understanding, and noticed a look of sorrow on his face. Believe it or not, when we were kids, Orochimaru and I had a similar relationship as you and Sasuke. He explained, much to Naruto's shock. He was the genius of our generation, and I saw him as a rival and a friend. When he betrayed the village, I chased after him, but no matter how hard I tried to save him, I couldn't, and after a few years, I realized the friend I once had was no more. Even if their reasons are different, Sasuke craves power, just like Orochimaru. I didn't want you to waste your time chasing after him, only to fail and realize years down the line it was hopeless from the start. Some people just can't be helped. Jiraiya explained and Naruto took on a pensive expression. Anyway, let's head back. Tomorrow your training really begins, you'll need all the sleep you can get. Alright. Hey, pervy sage, can the shadow clone jutsu help my training? Jiraiya placed his hand on his chin. Yeah, it could. With it, you could learn the different aspects of being a shinobi quickly, but there are risks. Risks? What risks? I'll explain tomorrow, now come on. Jiraiya said as he turned towards the town and gestured for Naruto to follow him. The next day, Naruto and Jiraiya returned to the clearing. Okay, Naruto, listen up. When a shadow clone dispels, everything they experience and learn is transferred to the user. Because of this, the jutsu is ideal for spying. You could send a clone to infiltrate enemy lands and all they learn will be transferred to the user. But it can also be used for training. In addition to learning, experience gained is multiplied by the number of clones used. Got all that and how it's useful for training? Well, Naruto trails off. Jiraiya sighs. We're going to have to work on that. Okay, think of it this way. If a shadow clone were to learn a new jutsu, when it dispels, the knowledge will be transferred to you and you will learn the jutsu. Any better? Yeah, I got it. With this I can learn a lot of jutsu really fast. Naruto exclaimed excited. That's right. But not only that, you could also have them work on chakra control and improving your taijutsu, or learn anything they read. If you train with 10 shadow clones in one subject, you'll reach your goal in 1/10th the time. However, you'll have to increase your physical strength yourself and there are risks. Jiraiya explained. Like what, pervy sage? Mental stress is carried over too. Gaining too much experience and stress at once can cause damage to the user's mind. For that reason, let's stick to 50 clones for now. Originally, I had planned on training you with the Ninetales chakra, but let's put that off for now. For now, I want you to put 30 of those shadow clones on chakra control and I'll have one of my shadow clones help the others improve on taijutsu. Jiraiya said as he created a shadow clone and thought of how this will change his plans. Alright. Naruto cried out as he made a familiar hand sign and soon 50 clones appeared. About a minute later, they were all doing as instructed. Okay, now what am I supposed to do? Well, I'm glad you asked, Naruto. Jiraiya said with a grin that had Naruto slightly worried. Here, put these on your wrists and ankles. Jiraiya said, reaching into his cloak and pulling out 4 sets of ordinary-looking prayer beads and gave them to him. Huh. Okay. Naruto replied with a raised eyebrow before he put them on as instructed like this. Perfect. Sealing technique, 4 limbs weighted seal. Jiraiya cried out, instantly the beads turned white. YH. Naruto looked at the beads before falling to the ground as the beads increased in weight exponentially. What the hell, pervy sage? What? I told you, didn't I? You have to increase your strength on your own. While the Sannin said as he gestured towards the clones as Naruto got up. Work on chakra control and taijutsu, you'll work on physical strength. You'll be using those beads to train like that kid. They'll change color as you train, and once they turn red, you're done. I'll supervise from over there, yeah, that's it. Jiraiya said, pointing at a tree before walking over to it as Naruto got started exercising, grumbling once more about lazy perverts as Jiraiya sat down. Good luck, brat, it's only going to get harder from here. It's been 4 months since Jiraiya had begun to train Naruto seriously. Since then he had improved greatly. Naruto's taijutsu, which was pretty decent for a genin, was now at an average chunin's level. Naruto's chakra control had also greatly improved. He was almost at the level where he could use the Rasengan with one hand. He also learned how to dispel genjutsu, and thanks to the 4 limbs weighted seal, Naruto was able to get a lot stronger and faster in just a short amount of time. Jiraiya decided to get chakra paper when they stopped off at a ninja village so he could find Naruto's affinity. In the meantime, Jiraiya taught him to manipulate earth and fire, his own elements. He had also bought Naruto some books on anatomy, herbs and poisons, chakra and theories, the villages, history and a dictionary, and had his shadow clones read and reread them until they understood and remembered them since the beginning of the 2nd month. It took a lot to convince Naruto to do this. In some cases he had to be forced actually, but it was paying off. Naruto was gradually getting smarter, something Jiraiya was glad for. Hopefully, he wouldn't have to dumb things down for his pupil anymore. Right now, the sun was about to set, and they were near the end of the day's training. Naruto's shadow clones were divided into groups of 10, training chakra control and taijutsu katas, reading the books or learning earth or fire jutsu, and he had been training this way since the 2nd month. Though he wanted to master fire jutsu as well as his own element one day, he didn't intend to learn more than a few earth jutsu, but those he had chosen to learn were extremely useful, namely, 3 jutsu for traveling underground. Naruto had begun truly appreciate his healing abilities, because for the past few weeks Jiraiya had begun to train Naruto to plan on the fly and improve his reaction times and judgment by sparring with him, which more often than not led to Naruto being beaten into the ground. The two were currently exchanging blows. Naruto managed to catch Jiraiya's arm with his elbow, throwing the Toad Sage's punch off course and leaving him wide open, or so he thought. The blonde went for a punch to the stomach, only to receive a knee to his own stomach which knocked the breath out of him, followed by a kick to the chest that sent Naruto to the ground. "Alright Naruto, that's enough for now," Jiraiya said as Naruto began to get up. "Man, you're brutal, pervy sage," Naruto said as he got up. "What's wrong? You're the one who wanted me to train you seriously. Besides, it's paying off, isn't it?" Jiraiya said with a grin as Naruto glared at him. "Anyway, we'll be traveling for the next few days, so take it easy, work with your clones on chakra control, and hopefully, by the time we get where we're going, you'll be able to use the Rasengan with one hand," the Sannin said. "So, where are we going next anyway?" asked Naruto curiously as he looked at the Sannin. "A minor village. We need some supplies for your training and I have something to discuss with the village's council," Jiraiya said. "Now, dispel your clones so we can head back to town." "You got it," Naruto said as he made a hand sign. The 50 clones dispelled and Naruto reeled for a moment, as all they had learned was transferred back to him. After sealing all the books, scrolls and weapons, they walked to the next town and found a cheap hotel because Jiraiya didn't like spending too much on rooms and went to sleep. That night as Naruto slept, he suddenly regained consciousness and found himself back in front of the Kyuubi's cage. "What the why am I here?" Naruto asked himself out loud. "Because I called you here," a booming voice spoke. Naruto looked up at the cage and saw the 9-tailed demon fox staring down at him. "Boy, it's time we talked," Kyuubi said as Naruto frowned in confusion. "What would you want to talk to me about, you stupid fox? In case you forgot, last time I was here you said you wanted to eat me. And besides, all you're gonna do is say the same old thing like always," Naruto said as he looked at the Kyuubi. "You should be more respectful, boy. You're still weak, still powerless. Your failure to save the Uchiha should have taught you that." Naruto's eyes narrowed as he prepared to refute that. "Then again, considering your recent development, perhaps you have." Naruto seemed slightly surprised. "I suppose I should be thankful you're stronger than you were before." Naruto glared at the fox. 4 months ago, he wouldn't have recognized that backhanded compliment for the insult it was. "I see you're smarter than you were too." "Did you call me here just to insult me?" "No, I called you here to offer you my aid, my power." "TCH. Like I'm going to fall for that," Naruto said, turning his back to the fox. "It seems you have wised up since we last talked, but I'm not trying to deceive you," Kyuubi said, lowering his head to look more closely at the blonde as Naruto turned to the Kyuubi. "Make no mistake, I despise the idea of this, and would like nothing more than to kill you, but I am willing to lend you my aid." "You don't do anything for free. So what do you want in return?" Naruto asked. "Smart boy, in return for my aid, there is someone I want you to kill. If you give me your word you will kill this person, I will help you control my power, so long as you do not squander it," Kyuubi told the Jinchuriki, who looked at him curiously. "Why would you need my help? Why not just try to break out and do it yourself, and why now?" Naruto asked, and Kyuubi's massive eyes narrowed. "I will tell you more of him later and my reasons for wanting him dead if you earn my respect. There are reasons I can't simply kill him myself, even if I escape this accursed cage, and I didn't make this offer before because you were helpless. I didn't believe you had the potential to kill him, even with my power, but things are different now," Kyuubi said. The way he spoke, his loathing of the situation was almost palpable. Naruto looked into Kyuubi's eye for a moment before turning and walking away. "Anyway, it doesn't matter, I'm not gonna kill someone just to get stronger, come back with a better offer." The Kyuubi stood up as his container walked away. "Boy, what if I told you that this person I want dead is most likely the leader of the Akatsuki, and is responsible for the deaths of your parents?" Kyuubi said as Naruto froze, eyes wide. A moment later he turned back to the Kyuubi. "What did you say?" Naruto asked, barely above a whisper. Kyuubi chuckled as he looked at his container. "That got your attention, I see." The Kyuubi grinned, sensing the negative emotions, mostly rage in the boy before him. Naruto had never been told anything about his parents, and now, the first thing he hears about them is that their killer was still alive. "Who is he?" Naruto asked. "He is someone from my past, one whom I hold unfathomable hatred for, and he is the reason why I was sealed inside you. That is all I will tell you for now. I will tell you more if you earn my respect and prove yourself worthy of this offer." "Listen to me. Do you believe you can threaten me, whelp? Don't make me laugh. That pathetic sage you call a teacher likely knows something. You may even be able to figure out most of the truth from what he knows. He did know your parents, after all." Naruto's eyes bulged and the Kyuubi's grin widened. That's right, he didn't tell you, did he?" The fox chuckled. "You will get no more on that subject from me now. So boy, do you accept my deal or not?" Naruto looked deep in thought, various emotions visible on his face. Before glaring at the Kyuubi, "Fine, but I'll be watching you, fox. Don't think I'll just let you do as you wish. You would be a fool to trust me completely, boy. Now leave. Come back when you're ready to begin training with my power. Kyubi replied, and Naruto closed his eyes before fading from his mindscape. Kyubi rested his head on his arms, proceeded to return to his slumber. The Kyubi truly hated the idea of helping Naruto, but he had little choice. He had no defense against the Sharingan's ability to control him. Freedom would mean nothing so long as Madara was alive. Besides, even if the boy somehow managed to gain full control of his power, although he didn't like it, the Kyubi could be patient. No human lived forever, but the Kyubi, he had all of eternity. He would be free one day, and if this paid off, in the best case when that day came, the cursed clan Uchiha would no longer be an issue. That morning, Naruto woke up and immediately a scowl appeared on his face. Was Kyubi telling the truth? Why wouldn't he tell me? Does Grandma Tsunade know? Or Kakashi-sensei? And if they do, why didn't they tell me who they were? Naruto asked himself before getting up, determined to get answers. He found Jiraiya sitting down in the cafeteria of the hotel, a room with long wooden tables and benches. No one was in the room with them. Hey kid, what's with that look? Wake up on the wrong side of the bed or what? Jiraiya asked, noticing Naruto's foul mood. Jiraiya, Naruto said quietly, and the old pervert frowned, wondering what could put the normally happy and energetic boy so angry with him that he would use his name. Last night, I had a talk with the Kyubi. What? Jiraiya exclaimed. Listen, Naruto said. He wanted to make a deal with me, to help me use his power. And you trust him? Jiraiya asked, shocked the boy would make such a stupid mistake as trust the fox. Of course not. But that's not important right now, Naruto yelled. What the hell do you mean, brat? Of course it's important, Jiraiya yelled back, trying to get the boy to listen to him. Not to me right now. What I care about is that he told me you knew my parents. Naruto roared at the sage, and Jiraiya's eyes widened before he took on a serious expression. So that's it. He was telling the truth. Why wouldn't you tell me? And who else knew? Calm down, Naruto, Jiraiya said firmly, and with a glare that said Naruto better listen. Naruto's eyes narrowed and he sat down. You weren't told because it was feared it would go to your head or that you would tell someone, as a Jinchuriki, you would get enough attention from enemies as it was without knowledge of your parents adding to it. I had planned to tell you as soon as you mastered your father's jutsu, Jiraiya explained. My father's jutsu? Naruto asked, calming now that he was getting answers. Yes, the Rasengan. What but you told me that means? That's right, your mother was Kushina Uzumaki and she was from the destroyed Yuzushiogakure, and your father was Minato Namikaze, the fourth Hokage. Jiraiya explained to a stunned Naruto as he finally heard his parents' names. The fourth was my, Naruto said in disbelief, countless emotions running through him and tears began to form in his eyes. He had always wondered who his parents were, always feared that they abandoned him for containing the Kyubi, and now he finds out it was his own father who sealed it into him. Why? Why would he seal the fucking nine-tailed fox into his own son? Did he have any idea what I would go through? Did he even care? Naruto shouted as the tears streamed down his face. Naruto! Jiraiya slammed his fist on the table and raged at Naruto's words. Don't let me ever hear you say something like that again, Jiraiya said with a scowl. I had never seen Minato happier than the day he found out he was going to be a father. He loved you very much, I have no doubt about that. I wasn't there so I don't know what exactly happened that night, but let me ask you, could you ask someone to sacrifice their child when you aren't willing to do the same? Naruto looked at the table, eyes downcast and unwilling to make eye contact with the sage after his outburst. When he thought of what he knew about the fourth, he realized he was a man willing to make any personal sacrifice for the greater good. After giving him a few moments to think on it, Jiraiya spoke again. I'm sorry I kept this from you, Naruto, and I swear I'll make it up to you. I'll tell you everything about them, but tell me, what else did the Kyubi talk about? You know how dangerous and persuasive he can be. Naruto paused for a moment before looking up at the hermit, responding, he told me he wanted me to kill someone in exchange for his power. Jiraiya's eyes widened. He said whoever it is was probably the leader of Akatsuki and responsible for my parents' deaths, but I thought the fourth, my dad, died sealing the Kyubi. Naruto said quietly, and Jiraiya leaned back and cupped his chin. He did. Actually, both of your parents died fighting the Kyubi. But something never did quite add up about the whole thing. What do you mean, pervy sage? Naruto asked. Jiraiya briefly looked glad to hear the blonde use his nickname again, even if he didn't like it before turning serious again. Well, I was going to wait and tell you once we started talking about what your parents were like, but your mother was the previous container of the nine-tailed demon fox. Naruto's eyes widened and his jaw dropped slightly at the revelation. There is a moment when a female Jinchuriki seal weakens. When? When the Jinchuriki gives birth. A pregnancy in a Jinchuriki lasts 10 months because the chakra that normally nurtures the child is divided between it and the seal, and when she gives birth, so much chakra is directed to the child that the seal weakens, to the point that the Biju can break free, unless a seal master is present to constantly maintain it and repair it afterwards. The seal must have broken, freeing the Kyuubi. Your mother's clan, the Uzumaki, were renowned for two things. They were the greatest known seal masters to ever live, and their longevity. It was the life force from that longevity allowed Kushina to survive the Kyuubi's escape. But the damage was killing her. She likely wouldn't have survived the night. She used the last of her strength to hold down the Kyuubi while your father sealed it. But Dad was supposed to be one of the greatest seal masters of all time. How could he have let that happen? Naruto said with a slight scowl, beginning to work out the truth from all information they had gathered. Exactly, and that is what doesn't add up. I know your father was there when you were born, and he would never have let that happen. So then, this guy the Kyuubi wants me to kill, Naruto said, growling slightly, almost angry enough to channel the Kyuubi's chakra as he began to work out what situation. Jiraiya looked up with a slight glare at the prospect, himself having come to the same conclusion as his apprentice. That's right, Naruto. Whoever this guy is, he must have attacked your parents when you were born. Using you and Kushina's weakened state to his advantage, he separated Minato from Kushina and broke the seal, freeing the Kyuubi to attack Konoha. Jiraiya said before adopting a thoughtful expression. But all this doesn't explain why the Kyuubi couldn't just kill this guy himself, or why he hates him so much. You have any ideas, pervy sage? Just one. Did the Kyuubi say anything else about him? Just that it's someone from his past who he hates more than anything else. Jiraiya hums in thought. Well? There is only one person I can think of who could get through all the precautions and defenses that would have been used that night, and been able to do such a thing. Who? The person I'm thinking of should have been dead since the days of the first Hokage. I'll look into this, but I doubt I'll be able to find anything. But I will say this, if it's him and he is the one behind the Akatsuki, then they are far more dangerous than we could have imagined. Jiraiya said grimly. Anyway, the Kyuubi will eventually tell you anyway, right? Naruto nodded. They sat in silence for a moment thinking of everything they learned. Jiraiya lamented over not being there for his student when he needed him. He likely wouldn't have been a match the attacker if it was who he thought it was, but with him and Minato together, that night may have turned out differently. Pervy sage, Naruto said quietly. HM? Jiraiya snapped out of his depression and he looked to his apprentice. Could you tell me what they were like? Jiraiya smiled. Sure, kid. They spent the rest of the morning and a lot of the first day of their journey, talking about Minato and Kushina. It had been a week since Naruto had talked to the Kyuubi. He and Jiraiya were slowly traveling north using clones to train Naruto along the way. Naruto had come to respect, love and idolize his parents, even more in the fourth's case, and in spite of sealing the Kyuubi into him, after hearing everything Jiraiya had to say about them, he had also expressed a wish to follow in the footsteps of his parents and his mother's clan as a seal master. Also, knowing that there was someone powerful enough to use the Kyuubi and fight evenly with his father who was after him, and how complicated and difficult sealing jutsu were, he had begun training more intensely and with more focus, even in areas he didn't like such as his reading, though he still didn't do more of that than Jiraiya told him he had to. Although aside from his newfound attentiveness, his personality had largely remained unchanged. He had doubled the amount of clones, and quickly decided not to dispel them all at once, and asked Jiraiya to increase the weights. Today, they were finally reaching their destination. They were walking through a forest, and they see the light of a clearing. Okay, kid, feast those eyes of yours on the sight before you because we have arrived, Jiraiya said while striking a dramatic pose and pointing to the clearing. Geez, pervy sage, you still act like Wo. Naruto trailed off as he stepped into the clearing and saw an enormous waterfall. Yeah, amazing sight, isn't it? Yeah, the view from here is better than last time. Wait, last time? When were you here? Jiraiya asked, a bit surprised to hear that Naruto had actually been here before. It was with Kakashi-sensei, Sakura and Sasuke, said Naruto as he looked down a bit. We came to do a cleanup job, but that changed when one of their jonin tried to use the hero's water to take over the village. But me and Sasuke stopped him. I see. Stop right there. A female voice called out. Master and apprentice look up as a half-dozen shinobi, all wearing black clothing and gray flak jackets, land in front of them. Please state your business with our village. But before Jiraiya could give a reply, one of the Taki ninja recognized Naruto, and then put his hand on the woman's shoulder and whispered in her ear. After a few seconds, the woman put her weapon down and looked at the two. I'm sorry for that. But security has to be tight, we don't want any unwanted visitors. It's a pleasure to see you again, Naruto. And you as well, Lord Jiraiya. Please follow me. The women, as she waved her hand, and the other members of the patrol were dismissed and returned to their posts, and the Taki Kunoichi turned around and walked to the waterfall with Naruto and Jiraiya right behind her. After a few minutes, Naruto decided to make idle conversation. So how's the village been since Suin was defeated? Asked Naruto. The village has been fine, thanks to you and your team, Naruto. A lot of the village thinks of you as a hero for what you did, said the woman. Is that why you didn't blindfold me? He asked. Yes, from what I heard you are a very trustworthy person, so there was no need for the blindfold, replied the woman as they passed a series of pools. This way, she said, diving into the pool, and the duo followed soon after. After several minutes, the three emerged in the village, a beautiful village built around a lake, the lake having an island with a gargantuan tree, the leaves of said tree covering the entire village from above, rays of sunlight visibly shining through the leaves. Wow, it's more amazing than the last time, Naruto said, taking in the sight of the village as they reached the shore. Thank you, the Kunoichi replied as they climbed out of the water. This is where I take my leave. I hope you enjoy your stay, Naruto. If you need anything, please don't hesitate to ask, the Kunoichi replied as she looked at him. Jiraiya's jaw slightly dropped in shock seeing how well respected his pupil was, but he quickly snapped out of it. Okay, now, I have a meeting with a Taki council member and have to get some supplies. In the meantime, take a break and enjoy yourself, okay? Once I get back, we'll train here for a while, then we'll move on. Have fun, maybe find yourself a girl to have some fun with, Jiraiya said, as he and the Kunoichi walked towards a bridge leading to the island with the tree. Naruto scoffed. That's something you would do, pervy sage. Before looking around, now where should I go? Before stomach rumbled and he put a hand to it. I know, I'll find a ramen shop. With that, he raced off in search of the nearest shop selling his favorite meal. Jiraiya walked with his escort across the bridge to a 4-story building at the base of the tree that was far more elaborate than any other building in the village, the home of the village leader and meeting place of the council. They entered the building and walked to the second floor and to a room. We've arrived, Lord Shibuki will see you now, said the Kunoichi as she took her leave. Jiraiya walked into the room and met Shibuki, the leader of Takigakure. A young man with black eyes and long, dark brown hair going just behind his neck. He wore gray pants and a green shirt. Ah, you're here. It's a pleasure to meet you, Master Jiraiya, the village leader said. Nice to meet you too, Shibuki. It's nice to see someone so young take his position seriously. Jiraiya smirked and Shibuki chuckled and rubbed the back of his head at the compliment. Well, I have to live up to my father's legacy, said Shibuki. His father had been a hero who gave his life for the village, drinking the hero's water to gain the strength necessary to protect the village, knowing the cost. Anyway, let's get down to business. What is it you wish to tell me? Well, according to my spy network, Taki is the only minor village with a Jinchuriki, Jiraiya said, and Shibuki stiffened before narrowing his eyes. Yes, what of it? Tell me, what do you know about an organization called Akatsuki? After 10 minutes of searching, Naruto had gotten tired of trying to find the ramen stand and soon asked for directions. After only a few minutes he had found a ramen stand and was currently on his 5th bullet. I have to say, this is a really nice place, the village I mean. I can see why you keep it hidden, Naruto said to the shop owner, a man in his early 30s. Thanks, kid, most write us off because we're just a minor village and… Get out and stay out, I've told you before, you're driving the customers away. They suddenly heard someone yell from a nearby restaurant. Naruto and the shop owner snapped up at the disturbance to see a girl wearing white with green hair run by the shop and out of sight. What was that all about? Naruto asked as he turned to the shop owner. When he did, he noticed a look he knew all too well. It was the same look everyone in his village had given to him throughout his childhood. A look of hatred, directed at the girl who had just ran by. His gaze lingered where she had been before he turned back to Naruto. Oh, nothing. That girl's a Kunoichi, but she's trouble. She was probably trying to steal something, he said, not willing to reveal one of the village's secrets to an outsider. Naruto could tell the man was lying. He didn't know why she was treated this way, but she had apparently lived through the same hell he had. Worse, possibly, the old man, the 3rd Hokage, had protected him throughout his childhood. Considering what he just saw, she likely didn't have such protection from whatever caused her problems. It didn't take him a moment to make a decision. Hey, old man, can I get 2 orders to go? The young Kunoichi ran through across the village, eventually finding herself at the giant tree at its core. The green-haired genin had just been trying to get a decent meal from one of the stores that had, until now, allowed her to buy from it, but apparently, People didn't want to buy from a shop that let the demon buy things. Of course they would choose their business over helping her. There were few in the village that didn't see her as the Nanabai, and those who didn't were in no position to help her. The 14-year-old girl's life had been hell, and what little kindness she had been shown was disappearing over the years. She was starting to become cynical about the world in general. "Hey!" A voice she didn't recognize called out. She turned to see a yellow-haired boy with whisker marks standing on the side of the tree with his chakra. Naruto looked down at the kunoichi as he got a good look at the girl. She had spiky mint green hair, tan skin, and wore a short white shirt that showed her midriff with a white miniskirt with bandages on her legs and under her shirt and white armlets, her forehead protector tied around her right arm, and white shinobi sandals, reminding him of Ino Yamanaka, who wore almost the same thing but purple in color. What Naruto focused on, however, were her eyes, first on the fact that they were orange, his favorite color, and then on the fact that they held a look similar to the one his own eyes used to carry, a sad and lonely look. They also had a hint of distrust, showing she had likely been betrayed more than a few times, before they hardened. She looked at the boy before her, noting his forehead protector. "What do you want?" she said, scanning him for any signs of hostility or deceit. "Hi, my name is Naruto Uzumaki, and I saw what happened and thought maybe you'd like some of this," Naruto said, holding up a cup of ramen. The kunoichi raised a brow. "Naruto Uzumaki? You're the hero of our village. What is someone like you doing talking to me?" said the kunoichi as she looked down and saw the cup of ramen in his hands. "Why would you give me this?" "Well, like I said, I saw what happened and I don't think you should be treated like that, so I thought you might like some company." The kunoichi looked at the boy, debating whether or not to trust him. She decided to give it a shot, seeing as she was hungry and he was from another village and didn't know what she was, and it might be nice to be treated normally, even if for a little while. "Fine," she said, taking the cup. She did like ramen, even if it wasn't her favorite meal. She and Naruto ate together under the tree in silence before Naruto spoke up. "So you never told me your name," he said, trying to get the girl to open up. "It's Fu, just Fu," said the green-haired girl, and they were silent for a few more moments. "So judging from your headband, you're from Konoha? What's it like?" Fu asked, and Naruto smiled. "It's great. It's a lot bigger than Taki, and they have the best ramen stand in all the nations. There's also a huge monument to the Hokage, their faces carved into a mountain." "That's so?" "Yeah, and one day, I'll have my face on the monument." "You want to be Hokage? Why?" Fu asked, and was surprised when Naruto briefly looked sad, the same look she often saw in her own reflection. "When I was young, I was an orphan and hated by everyone. Everywhere I would go, people would glare at me and insult me, and I didn't know why until recently. Until then, I wanted to be Hokage so everyone would have to acknowledge me as the greatest ninja of the village. But some people acknowledged me and they rescued me from being alone. Now, I want to be Hokage to protect those who are precious to me," Naruto said. Fu looked at the ground, surprised and depressed at how similar his past was to her own. "Well, I wish you luck, Naruto, and thank you for the ramen," said Fu with a smile. "Thanks, and you're welcome. Hey, anything exciting happened since you became a ninja?" Fu smiled a few. "What about you?" "I got some good stories, like the time me and my team fought Tsubusa Momochi." With that, the two began trading stories about their time as ninja. Jiraiya had finished his business with Shibuki and had gotten all the supplies he needed. He was currently looking for his apprentice. After about 5 minutes, he had finally found his student talking to a girl at the base of the sacred tree. "And he said he wasn't like me," the old pervert thought to himself with a chuckle before he noticed who the girl was. His spy network had informed him of Taki's Jinchuriki. After watching them from a perch on the tree for a moment, he jumped down as he landed, noticing how the girl reacted defensively and noting the look in her eyes. "Naruto, I see you took my advice on finding some company," Jiraiya said as he landed. "Pervy Sage. Finished your meeting with Shibuki?" "Pervy Sage?" Fu asked with a raised brow. "Don't be fooled by anything the brat might say. The man standing before you is none other than the Toad Sannin, the sage of Entimayaboku, the gallant Jiraiya," Jiraiya said as he struck one of his poses. "Is he kidding?" Fu asked skeptically. "I've seen him fight. He's as strong as he says he is, but he's just a pervert otherwise." "How many times do I have to tell you, brat? I'm not some pervert, I'm a super pervert," Jiraiya said proudly. Naruto and Fu just stare at him in disbelief. "Is he really Jiraiya of the Sannin?" Fu asked, not believing that such a renowned ninja would act like this. "Yeah, just ignore him when he gets like this," Naruto said, and Jiraiya sulked for a moment before becoming serious. Anyway, I finished my business and got the chakra paper we needed, so we can start training. Okay. Hey, Pervy Sage, can Fu join us? Naruto asked, much to Fu's shock. Huh. Sure, kid, if she wants to, I don't see why not, Jiraiya replied. Well, how about it? Naruto asked. Sure, I would be happy to train under Jiraiya of the Sannin and my team won't care, Fu replied. Okay, good thing they sell these cards in groups, Jiraiya said as he pulled out the small sheets of paper. Have you used these before? Jiraiya asked Fu, receiving a shake of her head in response. Okay, listen up, this paper reacts to your chakra. If you have a lightning nature affinity, then the paper will crumble, wind and it'll split in half, fire and it will burn, water it will get wet, and earth and it will turn to dust, Jiraiya said before he handed Naruto and Fu each a card. They channeled their chakra into the cards and Naruto's split in half. Fu's, on the other hand, crumbled before getting wet. Naruto, you have the wind affinity, whereas you, Fu, seem to have been born with both water and lightning. Now, we can begin training you in nature transformation. Great, can we get started, Ero-sensei? Fu said with a smirk. Damn it, brat, look what you did! Jiraiya wailed, and Naruto and Fu shared a laugh while Jiraiya grumbled how brats today showed not respect for their elders. A few moments later, and Naruto was making a familiar cross-shaped hand sign. Hold on, Naruto, Jiraiya said. What is it? Since your friend is joining us, maybe you should go easy and cut your clones back down to 50, until we leave anyway. Okay. Good, now listen closely. Wind is the rarest of the 5 basic chakra natures. They can deal in blunt force or precise cutting and piercing attacks and is best suited for short and mid-range combat. To manipulate wind, you must imagine splitting your chakra in 2, make those pieces as thin and sharp as possible and compress them together. While manipulating your chakra like this, use your chakra to split a leaf into 2 halves. Piece of cake, Shadow Clone Jutsu, Naruto shouted as he created 50 shadow clones. Wow, you must have some large reserves to create this many just for training. Wait, what are they doing? Fu said. She was sure she could do something similar, since Jinchuriki all have large reserves, but was surprised when 5 of the clones get books from scrolls and began reading while the rest gathered leaves from the tree. Shadow clones have a special ability. They transfer all the experience they gain to the user when they dispel. So with 1 shadow clone you train twice as fast, with 50 Naruto trailed off. Wow, that's incredible. You'll be able to learn new jutsu in no time like this, Fu said in awe, imagining how quickly one could learn with such an ability. Yeah, pretty amazing, huh? I wish I had known about this earlier. There are some drawbacks though, Naruto said. Like what? Fu asked. Well, most couldn't do this. Takes too much chakra to create this many clones, let alone use them for long enough to actually learn anything. Plus, you get their stress too, and learning too much at once can give you a headache. I'd imagine so. Okay, you two, I'd like you two to spar while your clones get the basics of wind manipulation, Jiraiya said. I'm up for it. What about you, Naruto? I'd like to see what the future Hokage can do, Fu said. Sure, a spar sounds like fun, Naruto replied. Alright, no clones, okay, you two? Okay, ready, Fu? Naruto said as they got in position in the field and Jiraiya sat on one of the roots of the tree. Yeah. Let's go, Fu said before held her and forward. Hidden waterfall style, water slicing blade, Fu said, and suddenly, a blade of water formed in her hand and she rushed forward. Naruto drew a kunai and blocked a downward slash, kicking off an exchange of blows before Naruto suddenly jumped high, doing a backflip in midair before he threw his kunai and ran through hand signs. Fu dodged the kunai and looked up just in time for Naruto to finish his hand signs. Fire style, Phoenix Flower Jutsu, Naruto yelled before breathing out several small fireballs. Fu dodged 3 before rushing forward and cutting through a 4th with her water blade. She was halfway to the boulder on which Naruto was going to land when he touched down, and said boulder broke apart into a cloud of dust which revealed a hole in the ground when it cleared. He's underground, he could appear anywhere, Fu thought before she closed her eyes to concentrate. Much to Jiraiya's surprise, insects began to crawl out from her back and cover the ground. Naruto popped out of the ground behind her, and was covered with them. With the insects having shocked him and sent his attack off course, Fu punched him in the stomach, only for him to be replaced with a log. She heard a splash and found Naruto had jumped into the lake to escape the chakra-draining bugs. Damn, I need to train more with that jutsu, I should have sensed that, Naruto thought as he swam to the surface. Fu meanwhile was waiting for him to resurface while her insects returned and they informed her of something shocking. They had sensed traces of Biju chakra in his chakra network. He's a Jinchuriki, he really is just like me, she thought, eyes wide open and mouth agape. A look Jiraiya didn't miss. Familiar with the Aburame clan's abilities, which seemed similar to hers, he had a good guess what she just found out. Naruto finally jumped out of the water and made hand signs. Fire style, flame bullet. Naruto spit out a large ball of fire which snaps Fu out of her shock and she prepared to counter. Water style, violent water wave. A large amount of water gushes from Fu's mouth, washing away the fireball. When the jutsu ends and the water clears, Naruto is nowhere in sight. Suddenly, hands reach out of the ground and grab her ankles, pulling her down and burying her up to her neck. Just afterwards, Naruto jumps out of the ground in front of her. Looks like I win, Fu, Naruto said with a smirk. Yeah, now help me out, Fu replied. That was pretty good, you two, Jiraiya said, walking forward as Naruto got Fu out of the ground. I'd say you two could take the average Chunin without much problems. Now, Naruto, join your clones on learning wind manipulation. Fu, since you've obviously got water down already, I'll help you start on lightning, Jiraiya said. Okay, what do I need to do? Fu asked. The lightning element is used to electrocute, paralyze and pierce its opponents, as well as increase the user's speed, though that's rare. It uses more chakra than the other elements, but it pays off with the amount of damage it can cause. It is produced by increasing the high-frequency vibrations of your chakra. Got all that? Yes, Ero-sensei, Fu said, smirking when she saw him twitch at the name. For the rest of the day, Fu trained with Naruto and Jiraiya. She had opened up to the two a little more by the end of the day. The next day, Jiraiya told Naruto to take the day off, and told Naruto to enjoy himself with his new friend, hoping he could get some research material out of his apprentice. As he walked through the village, Naruto was surprised to find that while he wasn't shunned, Taki wasn't as hospitable as it had been the day before. He didn't know it yet, but word had gotten around about him associating with Fu. Naruto walked around the sacred tree, Fu having agreed to meet him there before they got back to training. Hey Fu! How are you? You alright? Naruto said as he approached Fu and saw her looking out at the lake with a melancholy expression on her face. Sorry, Naruto, Fu said quietly. Sorry? For what? The reason you're being treated differently, it's because of me. Because you've been talking to me. Huh. That's why they're giving me the cold shoulder all of a sudden. Don't worry about it, I don't care what they think. You must be used to it, right? Huh. You're a Jinchuriki, aren't you? Naruto stiffened. So, I was right, Fu said sadly. How? My insect sensed a Biju's chakra in you when we sparred yesterday. I'm glad I met another Jinchuriki, Fu said, and Naruto's eyes snapped up to her face. You're one too? Naruto asked, and Fu nods. My mom was the last Jinchuriki of the Kyuubi, the nine-tailed demon fox, Naruto said, surprising Fu. You know a Jinchuriki seal weakens when they give birth? When I was born, someone attacked and used that to break the seal, so the Kyuubi would destroy the village. My father sealed it into me to stop it. 12 years ago, the previous host of the Nanabai, the seven-tailed rhinoceros beetle, lost control and went berserk while trying to master her power. She killed many of our shinobi and citizens before some of our ninjas sacrificed themselves to subdue her by using the hero's water. But by then it was too late, the seal broke and it was sealed into me. And they blame you for the lives it took, don't they? They glare at you and whisper behind your back. They act like you're a monster, even though you haven't done anything. You feel like you're completely alone, Naruto said, having faced the same treatment in Konoha. We're all treated the same, aren't we? Fu asked with a sad smile, able to tell Naruto was speaking from experience. Is there anyone who accepts you? No, Naruto. I'm not as lucky as you. There isn't anyone here who thinks of me as a person. If there is, they don't do anything to help. There are some who tolerate me, but that's it. I would leave this place if I could, but they would just drag me back. You don't have any friends? No one? Fu shakes her head. Well, you can count on me, Fu. I'll be here for you. I'll help you whenever I can, and I never go back on my word, Naruto said with a toothy grin. Fu looks up at him and smiles warmly, a tear in her eye as she finally had someone who knew what she'd been through. Thank you, Fu said. Later that day, the village council was meeting. Shibuki had just revealed everything he had learned from Jiraiya the previous day to the council members. They had been shocked that there was an organization hunting the Biju, especially when they heard the names of the 2 known members and 1 former member. Who in the ninja world hadn't heard of Itachi Uchiha and Orochimaru? They were strong for a minor village, but they knew they couldn't fight such a group, especially considering how strong the leader must be to control such people. We cannot let our Jinchuriki be stolen from us. A male member of the council, Saburo said. Why do you want to protect that monster? I say we just let them take her. The Nanabai has been nothing but trouble. Most of the village would be glad to be rid of her. A woman named Akane said. Shibuki was about to speak out against her when someone else beat him to it. Are you insane? We can't let them take the Nanabai, said a man named Shin. I'm surprised you would protect the demon after losing a son to it, Akane replied. Shin narrowed his eyes. Don't mistake my intent. Don't forget who we're dealing with. One of the members of this Akatsuki is Itachi Uchiha, from the same clan as Madara, the only man to ever fully control the Kyuubi while it was unsealed. Think of how powerful their leader must be to control people like him, Kisame Hashigaki and Orochimaru. While the chance is slim, they may have some method of controlling the Biju. If that's the case and monsters like that get one of the stronger Biju, let alone all 9, it would be nothing short of a complete disaster, said Shin with conviction. The others, some hesitantly, nodded. We would lose too many shinobi defending her. But what if we gave her to another village, like Konoha for instance? Suggested a woman, Kyo. This suggestion was met with a lot of resistance. What? Akane, you said yourself no one in the village would miss her. We would be rid of the demon, the Nanabai would be protected from the Akatsuki, and we would get something in exchange for it and strengthen our alliance with Konoha. Besides, what good has the Nanabai done for us? None of its Jinchuriki have gotten far in controlling it, and both eventually lost control. The last one lost control within the village. Kyo said, and the others debated internally. She did have a good point, but they still didn't want to give away such a resource or strengthening another village, even an ally. But from the looks of things they would lose it anyway. At least this way they could get something out of it. Let's adjourn for today. Think about the situation tonight, and we will decide tomorrow, Shibuki said. Personally, he hoped to go with Kyo's idea. Not just to protect Taki, but also so Fu would have a chance to be happy. He was one of the few who felt sorry for her, but his duties kept him from being there for her. He hoped that if she left, she could find happiness somewhere. It was early morning in Konohagakure. It was going on 5 months since Naruto and Jiraiya left, and it was largely business as usual for the people of the Hidden Leaf. Tsunade had grown used to her new position as Hokage, which meant she wasn't found sleeping on her desk beside stacks of papers anymore. Of course, doing all that work didn't mean she didn't occasionally find time for distractions. Just as she was about to get out a bottle of sake she had managed to conceal from Shizen, there was a knock on the door. Tsunade sighed to herself, her hand retreating from her hidden sake. She sometimes had to question why she took the job. That blonde brat had gotten to her, and while she had to admit it felt good to be back and she was happy to help the village, she didn't have to be Hokage to do that. Speaking of him, it was kind of dull without him around, less of a headache but still. In the short time she had known him he had become almost like a grandson to her, but between her paperwork, training Sakura and recently Ino as well it was not like she was bored. Come in. The door opened and a black-haired woman from Konoha's aviary came in holding a scroll. Lady Tsunade, we just received a message from Takigakure. From Taki? Tsunade asked, wondering what they could want. They're requesting a few amendments to the alliance between our villages, trades and look for yourself. The woman said. Tsunade took the scroll and read it. After a few moments, her eyes widened and seconds later she sighed. She would have to call a meeting of the council to discuss this. An hour later, Tsunade sat in the conference room at the end of a long, plain table with the village's clan heads and the advisory council members. Let's begin. Tsunade said seriously, a slight frown on her face knowing they were trading a person, likely without said person's knowledge, but aware that Taki didn't have the resources to protect their Jinchuriki from the Akatsuki. Earlier today, we received a messenger bird from Taki. From Taki? What do they want? Hamura asked with a furrowed brow. Does it have something to do with Uzumaki? They had all been surprised when they had heard of the boy's status as a hero in the village. No, although Jiraiya and Naruto arrived in Taki 2 days ago, this has nothing to do with either of them. They made requests of us. They wish for funds, aid and for us to funnel missions to them, among other things. I assume they've offered us something in return and are not merely wasting our time. Koharu asked. In return, they're offering us the Nanabai Jinchuriki. Tsunade said and looks of slight surprise crossed the faces of everyone else in the room. Troublesome. Shikaka said, his strategic mind, along with Danzo's having already figured out Taki's intentions. They don't want to defend their Jinchuriki from the Akatsuki, so they think that by giving us their Jinchuriki, not only do they protect themselves but they can request something in return while pushing the problem onto us. While I do not like the idea of being used so obviously, Konoha would gain another powerful weapon. Who is the current Nanabai Jinchuriki? Danzo said. A 14-year-old genin girl named Fu. We can have her leave with Jiraiya. She will benefit from his training and Akatsuki wouldn't attack any sooner than they would have before. Tsunade said. Should we really accept? We would make ourselves a bigger target for the Akatsuki, having 2 Jinchuriki. Choza said. We do not know if they can control the Biju or use them in some way aside from creating new Jinchuriki or not. Hayashi said calmly. If they can, every Biju they gain increases their threat to us and all villages. That aside, we would gain the power of another Biju. Currently, both Iwa and Kumo, both of whom we have poor relations with, each have 2 Jinchuriki. In addition, one of Kumo's Jinchuriki has achieved total control of his Biju, the Hachibi, as discovered by our 4th Hokage during the last war. Danzo said calmly. Possessing another Jinchuriki would be good for the village. The child would also be unlikely to betray us. Jinchuriki are pretty much treated the same, but thanks to Naruto, the current generation as well as many others have seen they are not the demons they contain. She is more likely to choose us over a village that has always treated her as a monster. Even if that's not the case, the boy seems to have a way with people. Shibuya said. Many nodded. They knew of the change in Niji Hyuga and the effect the blonde had on Shibuki. Danzo, of course, still intended to have Fu put under close observation from his root shinobi. In Taki, Naruto and Fu were training under Jiraiya. Fu was kind of jealous of Naruto's shadow clone jutsu. She was already far behind Naruto in learning to manipulate her element. With 10 of his clones as well as himself devoted to learning his wind nature, he was progressing 10 times as quickly as her. Fu was happier than she had ever been in her life. She had actually met and befriended another Jinchuriki and Jiraiya didn't care that she was one. They kept training till midday, at which point Jiraiya told them to take it easy for the rest of the day. At the moment, Fu was standing under a tree, waiting for Naruto to return with something to eat. She would go to, but most places they could get something already cooked would likely kick her out. She looked up as she heard Naruto approaching, and raised a brow when she saw he brought ramen again. Ramen again? Fu asked. Yeah, what's wrong with that? Naruto replied. Nothing, you just seem to like it a lot. Well, it is my favorite food, it's pretty much all I used to eat back in Konoha. Fu looked at him with a furrowed brow. Naruto, that can't be healthy. I know you like it, but why would you eat it all the time? Naruto looked to the ground. Well, besides the fact that it's my favorite, remember that ramen stand I mentioned? Its owners were 2 of the first people to be nice to me. The old man Tucci and his daughter Ayam were 2 of the first people to see me as a person, instead of the Kyuubi. They're like family to me, so I made sure to spend as much time there as I could. Oh, I see, sorry I reminded you of that. It's alright, besides, it's nice to talk about it with someone who understands what it's like. Naruto said with a smile and Fu nodded. The closest to that for me was that shop you saw me chased from. They didn't really care, they just thought my money was as good as anyone's. But apparently, no one wanted to eat at a place serving the village demon. Oh. But if that hadn't happened, we might have passed each other by without saying a word, and it's not like I can't cook. Yeah, you're right, so I guess it worked out for the better. Naruto said with a smile which Fu returned. She didn't really like going there anyway, they served her but always made it clear she wasn't welcome. Just as they had almost finished with their meals, a Taki-nin landed before them. Fu, Lord Shibuki requests your presence. You are to report to him immediately, the man said. Fu nodded and looked to Naruto. It's fine, I get it. See you later, Fu, Naruto said, and the green-haired girl nodded before she disappeared in a body flicker. She entered the building and walked through the halls to Shibuki's office, knocking before entering. Welcome, Fu, the village leader said. Greetings, Lord Shibuki, you wanted to see me? Fu replied and was put on guard when Shibuki gave her an apologetic look. Yes. Fu, I regret to inform you that starting today, you will no longer be a shinobi of Taki. Fu's eyes widened in shock. What you mean? What am I supposed to do if I'm not a ninja? Fu yelled, angry and a bit afraid. Taki saw her as a weapon. If they thought she wasn't good enough, they may extract the nanabai. I didn't say you would no longer be a shinobi, Fu, it's just that you will no longer be a ninja of this village. You're being transferred to Konoha, effective tomorrow. You're to leave the village with Master Jiraiya. What is that, why they came here? Fu asked, fearing she may have been betrayed again, and they had come to get another weapon for their village. Not exactly, Jiraiya and his apprentice came on a training trip, as I know they have told you, but also to warn us. Warn us about what? Fu asked, wondering what it could be to cause them to simply give her away. There's an organization called the Akatsuki. We have heard a little of them. They're an organization that works in groups of 2 and every member is an S-class missing nin, including Itachi Uchiha, Kisame Hashigaki, and formerly, Orochimaru of the Sannin. Shibuki explained, much to Fu's shock she recognized those names. Right now, they're acting as mercenaries, taking any job for the right price, as well as bounty hunters, but Master Jiraiya has uncovered their true objective. What is it? The Biju. Shibuki said grimly, causing Fu's eyes to bulge and her jaw to drop slightly in shock and fear. They were coming after the Biju and by extension the Jinchuriki. Then a look of realization appeared on her face before her eyes narrowed. So, the council decided to get rid of me so they wouldn't be a target. I'm surprised they didn't just give me up to them. I would never have allowed that, but I won't lie to you, the idea did come up. Fu looked to the ground, eyes shut and trembling with rage. Her village was just going to abandon her and kick her out. Even if she hated the place it was her home, some part of her had wanted to prove them wrong and show them she wasn't the monster they thought she was. That and the thought that they had actually considered letting the Akatsuki take her to save their own skins. For what it's worth, I was for the idea for you to go to Konoha, but not to protect the village, though that's part of it. Shibuki said, and Fu looked up at him. Fu, you know as well as I do most of the village will never accept you, and I've been watching you since Jiraiya and his apprentice arrived. Don't deny that the time you've spent with those 2 has been the happiest you've ever been. Fu's anger subsided and a melancholy look played across her face. Fu, take this chance to find people who accept you, find a place where you won't be an outcast, where you can find the happiness you deserve. I have faith in you and wish you luck. Thank you, Lord Shibuki, Fu said as Shibuki held a scroll to her. You don't have to call me that anymore. Here, take this message to Master Jiraiya. It will explain everything. Goodbye, Fu. I'm sorry I couldn't help you more. Fu nodded and quietly walked out. That night, Fu walked to the hotel she knew Naruto and Jiraiya were staying at and walked to their room and knocked on the door. Naruto answered. Oh hey Fu, what's wrong? Fu began to sob and hug Naruto. Much to his and Jiraiya's surprise, Naruto held her until she calmed down and she gave the scroll to Jiraiya. He read it and scowled slightly. Didn't see that coming, Jiraiya said. What is it, pervy sage? Well, apparently, Taki decided that they would rather give Fu to Konoha than try to defend her from the Akatsuki. What? Fu, you're telling me these bastards are just going to abandon you? Naruto yelled. Fu, who was sitting on the floor, just hugged her legs to her chest. Where's the village council? I'm going to give them a piece of my mind. Naruto, Fu said, and the blonde calmed a bit. It's okay, I'm fine. I told you I'd like nothing more than to leave and it could be worse. Shibuki said they even considered just letting them take me. They what? Naruto, Jiraiya said. Just calm down, nothing can be done about it now. I was planning to wait a few more days, but let's head out in the morning. Yeah, I can't wait to get out of this place, Naruto growled. Fu just nodded. She really couldn't wait to put this place behind her forever. There was little she would miss about the village. Can I stay here tonight? Fu asked. Sure, got your own sleeping bag? Jiraiya asked and Fu nodded. They all got ready for bed, just before they all lay down. Fu looked at Naruto, whose sleeping bag was next to hers. Naruto? Huh? We're friends, aren't we? Naruto looked surprised before he smiled. Why are you even asking? Of course we are. Fu smiled back at him. Thank you, I didn't think I'd ever have a real friend, Fu said. The next morning, Fu had sealed all her belongings into a scroll and left the village with Jiraiya and Naruto. After they stepped out of the waterfall, she looked back at the waterfall that marked the entrance to what had been her home, and after a moment, she removed her forehead protector from her arm and threw it into the water. I'll show them I'll become one of the most powerful ninja the elemental nations have ever seen. I'll show them what they threw away. Fu thought, realizing a moment later that that was similar to Naruto's initial reason for wanting to be Hokage, acknowledgement, and realized how much these two, the first to accept and help her besides Shibuki, had come to mean to her in such a short amount of time. And I'll use that power to protect everyone who accepts me. Hey Fu, Naruto said, snapping Fu out of her thoughts. What? I just realized since you're going to be a Konoha ninja, there's nothing stopping me from teaching you the Shadow Clone Jutsu, Naruto said, and Fu's eyes widened. That's true, and with it you'll be able to train as quickly as Naruto. You'll need it with the Akatsuki after you, and with both of you, Konoha will likely be a bigger target to them. Naruto, you teach her to use the shadow clone jutsu while we travel, Jiraiya said. Where are we going, Jiraiya-sensei? Fu asked. What? No Arrow-sensei anymore? So, you've finally seen that I'm a man worthy of the utmost respect, Jiraiya said with a grin. No, I just noticed it's not bothering you as much anymore. Jiraiya twitched and Fu adopted a thoughtful expression. But if you want me to call you that. No. That's alright. No, I think I will keep calling you Arrow-sensei on second thought, think of it as a term of endearment, Fu said with a smirk. Jiraiya grumbled about disrespectful brats and Naruto, and Fu shared a laugh at his expense. Anyway, where are we going? The land of rivers. I know a place that's perfect for what I have in mind. Doesn't hurt that the country also has some lively towns and a minor ninja village, among other things. A week later, Naruto, Jiraiya and Fu were traveling down the road in a dark, mountainous forest near the border to the land of grass. The skies were overcast, and it looked like it could start raining any moment. Fu had gotten the shadow clone jutsu on the second day, and she and Naruto had devoted all their clones to learning to manipulate their new elements whenever they stopped. With 100 clones devoted to learning it, they had already gotten basic manipulation of their elements down. Naruto could split leaves and Fu could create a decent electric charge, but they were not yet good enough to use their elements in battle. Hey, where are we, pervy sage? This place gives me the creeps, Naruto asked, trying to mask his fear. Something that wasn't too well known, Naruto had phantasmophobia, an irrational fear of ghosts, phantoms, and the supernatural/paranormal, and this place definitely had that kind of vibe. We're near the capital of the former land of Nex, Kubasaki Pass, Jiraiya answered. Kubasaki Pass. As in broken neck, Naruto said, pointing to his neck with his eyes wide. What? Don't tell me the future Hokage's scared, Fu teased with a playful smirk. What? No. Of course not. So why do they call this place that anyway? Naruto asked. He does have a point, it's not exactly inviting, Fu said. It's named in honor of the Kubasaki clan. They were the feudal lords of the land of Nex, until they were destroyed in a war 50 years ago, Jiraiya explained, before pausing as he felt something. He looked to the sky. His students followed his gaze just as it began to rain, quickly picking up into a downpour. Oh great! Come on kids, move, he said as they began to run. As they ran down the road, a foreboding castle becomes visible from the tree line. Huh, that must be the castle of the Kubasaki clan. Come on, we can stay there for the night, it should be abandoned. What? We're staying there? Why not just walk straight the next town? It's just a little rain, Naruto asked. He would never set foot into the place by his own free will, even if it meant staying out in the rain all night. I knew it, you are scared, Fu said. No, I'm not, I just want to get where we're going faster. A little rain never hurt anybody, Naruto replied as they ran to the castle. They walked in to find that the castle was well lit and in perfect condition, as if there were still servants taking care of it. What the? Didn't you say this castle was abandoned, Arrow-sensei? Fu asked, looking around. It should be, Jiraiya said tensely, on guard and prepared to react at any moment. Hey! Is it okay if we take shelter from the rain here? Naruto yelled but received no answer. He then turned to his teacher, noticed the serious look on his face. What's wrong, pervy sage? I don't know, I feel as if I've been here before, Jiraiya replied, looking around. Why does this feel so familiar? Well, let's have a look around, Fu said as she walked towards what appeared to be the dining room. Wait a minute! Now I know why this place seems familiar! Jiraiya exclaimed, unable to believe he couldn't figure it out before. The feeling he got from the place was almost identical to his summoning, toad shop technique. He guessed it was harder to tell since he wasn't the summoner, but still he should have noticed. We have to get out of here now. Devour! A booming voice resonates from all around them, causing Naruto and Fu's eyes to widen as Jiraiya's narrowed. What was that? Naruto asked in a panic. I am the castle, and by order of Kuza Kubasaki, all who enter shall be devoured, the voice said. Suddenly, the doors around them opened and several tongues shot out and tried to grab them. The three dodged the tongues and jumped off the floor as acid poured through the cracks in the wood. What the hell's happening? Fu shouted as they landed on a still dry portion of the floor. Hey pervy sage, what's going on? This is just like when you summoned that toad when Itachi and Kisame attacked, Naruto said, calmer now that he was almost sure they weren't dealing with ghosts. You're right, Naruto, it is just like that. We're in the belly of the beast, Jiraiya said seriously. What? Both his apprentices snapped their heads to him, eyes wide. This is a summon disguised as a castle, meant to devour all who set foot inside, Jiraiya explained. He drew back his hand, forming a Rasengan. Stand back, I'll have to blast our way out of here. All of a sudden, everything stopped and returned to normal. As the three look around in bewilderment, the main door opened and a man wearing the armor of the Kubasaki clan walked through the door, surrounded in blue light. Who's that? Naruto asked, watching as the man walks by them. Hey! He called out, not receiving a response. Should we follow him? Fu asked. Why not? There's no point in tricking us when we're already trapped, Jiraiya said before following the man with his students behind him. Not like this could get any worse, right? Naruto asked. Fu turned to him with a deadpan expression as they followed their sensei. Naruto, don't ever say that. They followed the man up the stairs. He disappeared from sight at the top of the stairs, and when they reached the top themselves, they found he had vanished. Wait, where'd he go? Naruto asked. That's not important, look, Jiraiya said. The summon contract, Jiraiya said, pointing to an altar in the room with a scroll. They walked forward and saw a picture of a chameleon on the scroll. As I thought, the chameleon contract. We can get out of here by destroying or signing it. Since Naruto and I have already signed the Toad contract, I think Fu should sign this, Jiraiya said. Fu was about to respond when they heard a roar and the walls began to turn to flesh. Quick, Fu, sign it, Jiraiya said urgently. Fu ran to the altar and practically tore open the scroll. She briefly scanned the names before she bit her finger and signed the scroll in blood. Now, give it an order, Jiraiya instructed as the walls began to move to attack again. Stop, Fu yelled. At her command, the walls stopped moving. Let us go, Fu said. The walls returned to their stone guise, and seeing nothing of note, the trio began to simply walk out of the mansion. Is that it? Naruto asked as he looked around for any signs of attack. That's it, come on, let's get out of here. We need to release it from its order. It's been stuck here for 50 years, Jiraiya said. Yeah, being stuck here for 50 years must really suck, Naruto said, and Fu nodded as they walked back outside. Though the sky was still overcast, the rain had stopped. Okay, I release you from the command of Kubasaki, Fu commanded, recalling the name of the former master of the castle. The castle began to shift, turning green and reshaping itself, until it had returned into its true form, a giant chameleon as tall as the castle, with green scales, possessing a trio of horns at the center of its head and a row of spikes down its spine. The chameleon opened its eyes, both of which quickly focused on the green-haired Jinchuriki. I thank you for releasing me, young one. What is your name? The chameleon asked, its voice deep and grating. My name is Fu, your new summoner. I am Shiromari, leader of the chameleons. As you have signed our contract, and in return for releasing me, we will aid you from this day forth. Now, I have 50 years of catching up to do with my family. Farewell, Shiromari said before vanishing in a huge burst of smoke. Well, today was certainly eventful, and the rain stopped. Jiraiya said, okay, I think we've had enough excitement for today. Let's make camp around here. We'll continue in the morning, Jiraiya said as he led his students to find a good spot to make their camp. In the morning, Naruto and Fu were sitting on a pair of logs before the remains of a campfire. Jiraiya, who had woken up late, was getting ready, and Naruto and Fu were ready to go. Ero-sensei mentioned you signed the Toad contract, so what can they do? Fu asked Naruto, who took on a thoughtful expression. I'm not really sure. Whenever I've summoned them, I always just have them fight. I know Pervy Sage once summoned the stomach of a toad around us, but that's it, Naruto replied. You don't know? Fu asked, surprised. You don't know what yours can do either, Naruto said, crossing his arms. Yeah, but I just got them and no one's seen this contract in 50 years. You, on the other hand, had the Toad contract and have been traveling with someone who mastered their abilities for months, Fu pointed out with a smirk. Yeah, well, Naruto rubbed the back of his head and smiled sheepishly. We both need to learn more about our summons. Let's just call one of them and ask. Good idea, Naruto replied before they both bit their thumbs and made hand signs. Summoning jutsu. Both call out as they slammed their hands to the ground. 2 small clouds of smoke poof into existence. When they cleared, Fu had summoned a small green chameleon with brown markings on its face and along its back, while Naruto summoned a small orange toad with blue markings along his eyes and lips and a blue jacket. What's up? The toad, Gamakichi asked. You must be our new summoner, the chameleon said. I am Daichi, grandson of Shiromari. Thanks for freeing Gramps. I'd only heard of him till yesterday. You're welcome, although we didn't have much choice, you know, Fu replied. Guess that's true still, thanks. Whoa, a chameleon? It's been a long time since you've left your forest. Say kid, who's she? Your new girlfriend? Gamakichi asked with a smirk, causing Naruto and Fu's eyes to widen and blushes to appear on their faces. What? What makes you think I'm his girlfriend? Fu asked, waving her hands in front of her. Yeah, I mean, she couldn't be my girlfriend. What gave you that idea? Naruto asked, still blushing. What's that supposed to mean? Fu scowled, and Naruto knew if he said the wrong thing he'd be a dead man. I mean, I've only known you for about a week. It's too soon to think about something like that, he replied quickly while raising his hands in defense, and Fu's anger seemed to subside a bit. Besides, there's a girl I like back at Konoha, Naruto said sadly as he remembered when Sakura begged him to bring Sasuke back. He knew she loved Sasuke and it hurt. Part of the reason he wanted to save Sasuke was so Sakura could be happy, even if it wasn't with him. Oh, Fu said quietly, not sure why that hurt a little. They both seemed a bit gloomy after this. Hey, what's with the gloomy atmosphere? Anyway, why did you call us? Gamakichi asked. I'm curious about that too, Daichi added. Oh yeah, we were wondering, what can you guys do? We were talking and we realized we don't know much about your abilities. I mean, all we know is your Gramps can disguise himself as a castle, he gestures to Daichi. And you guys can attack with your tongues and the chief has his sword and that water jutsu. Do you have any special abilities? What? You've been with the old guy all this time and haven't asked him? Gamakichi asked, a bit surprised, causing Naruto to look sheepish and Fu to smirk. Well, some of us can do something like what you just said his Gramps did. Some of us can use water, fire and wind jutsu, and we can combine them with your jutsu for stronger attacks. Huh? This is the first you're hearing of collaboration jutsu? Gamakichi asked, shocked. Daichi seemed surprised as well. Yeah, the meaning's pretty obvious though, combining techniques for a stronger attack, right? Fu asked. Well yeah, but there's a bit more to it, Gamakichi said. Collaboration jutsu is combining complementary ninjutsu and elements, or techniques that require multiple users working together. For example, several ninja working together to create a powerful barrier, or, you know how wine makes fire stronger? Daichi began to explain, getting nods from the two. He continued. Well, let's say you summon Gramps, he has the wind and water elements. If you combined his wind with a fire jutsu of your own, it would create a firestorm. Yeah, you get the same result by combining Pop's Toad Bullet with a fire jutsu. And if that were then combined with a wind jutsu, Gamakichi explained. Wow, sounds awesome, Naruto said. Yeah, but there's more to it than just combining jutsu. You have to time it just right and synchronize your chakra for maximum effect or for some techniques to work at all. Aside from that, there are lots of toads with special abilities, seals, barriers, partial summons like you mentioned earlier, sage arts. Sage arts? I don't really know much about it yet, asked the old man. He'd be able to explain our abilities better anyway. As for us, we can use water, fire, wind and earth techniques. We can attack with our tongues, and have some other abilities you should call someone older to explain. Also, Daichi explained, before he suddenly faded from sight, blending in with his surroundings and his presence completely vanished. Gamakichi, knowing about this ability, wasn't surprised, but Naruto and Fu looked around in shock, before Fu suddenly jumps and looked to her leg, her gaze rapidly shifting as if following something that was crawling up her body until it stopped beside her neck. The young chameleon reappeared there on her shoulder. We can completely blend in with our surroundings and hide our presence, though we will teach you to detect us and possibly imitate this ability. This, along with our earth jutsu that allows us to tunnel through the ground quickly, makes us excellent spies and perfect for sneak attacks, though there are some abilities that can still detect us. Seriously? That sounds perfect for pranks, Naruto said. That's true, and please don't do that again, Fu said. Sorry, couldn't resist, Daichi said with a smirk. So, if that's all you wanted, got any snacks? Gamakichi asked. If you got any, I'd like some too, Daichi added. Huh. Oh sorry, we're on a training trip right now so we don't really have things like that. We'll get you some next time we stop in a town though, Naruto said. Well, thanks in advance. See ya, Gamakichi said before dispelling himself and returning to the Toad's Mountain. If you have no other reason for me to be here, I'll be heading back too, Daichi said before he left as well. I was wondering how long it would take for you to start asking about your summons, Jiraiya said as he stepped out from the tree line. You heard all that, pervy sage? Naruto asked. Yeah, come on, let's get going, Jiraiya said as he sealed up their tents and sleeping bags. I'll give you a rundown on some of the Toad's abilities as we go. Sorry, Fu, but you're going to have to ask the chameleons for more about their abilities. Wow was all Naruto could say as he gazed at the valley before him. It had been a week and they had arrived at their destination. Naruto now knew a little about the Toad's special abilities and Jiraiya assured him he would show him some of them later. They stood before an enormous, majestic valley with a deep forest and several waterfalls and rivers. Yep, this is the place. Come on, we're headed to that waterfall, Jiraiya said before he and his apprentices began rapidly jumping down the valley wall and from tree to tree, reaching their destination, a clearing before a waterfall, where the water pooled into a large lake that fed a river, in under a minute. So, what are we going to do, Ero-sensei? Fu asked. Well, this place has everything we need for your elemental training, among other things, but right now, we'll be focusing on something else, Jiraiya said, showing a grin that worried his two apprentices. Oh, by the way, Fu, where's your seal located? The center of my chest, why? Fu asked, indicating the area just below the base of her neck. What do you have in mind? Naruto asked. I want you to master your chakra control, Jiraiya replied, still grinning. What? After all that time I spent on chakra control, I can form a Rasengan perfectly already. It seems like a waste of time. Yeah, but I don't have that level of chakra control yet, and the better our control, the more powerful our jutsu will be and the less energy we'll use in them, Fu said. Well, I guess you're right. Naruto pouted. Don't be so down. If I'm right, by the time this is through, your chakra control should be good enough to cast genjutsu, Jiraiya said, shocking Naruto and Fu. Jinchuriki typically could not cast genjutsu due to their large chakra supplies and consequential lack of control. You two should brace yourselves, Jiraiya said as he drew his hands back. Before they could ask what he was planning, he shot forward, his fingertips glowing with chakra, and slammed his hands into their Naruto's stomach and Fu's chest, and called out five-pronged seal. Both cried out in pain and were sent sprawling on the ground unconscious. They awoke half an hour later. So, you're finally up, huh? Jiraiya asked. Hey, what's the big idea? Wait, not this again, Naruto said, as he looked to the Kyuubi seal and realized what Jiraiya had done. You've been through that before? Fu asked, sitting up with a hand over her seal. Yeah, Orochimaru used it on me when he snuck into the Chunin exams. It shot my chakra control to hell. I get it, we're supposed to master controlling our chakra while these seals interfere, right? Fu guessed. You got it. I want you each to create 100 clones and devote 75 to chakra control for the next 3 weeks. Use the rest to make sure you don't fall behind in your other subjects. After that, you'll continue to train with the seals on until you master manipulating your elements. You should get started, Jiraiya said. Seeing the benefits, they decided not to argue and went to create the clones. Much to their surprise, Fu created less than half her target number and Naruto created about 2/3. What the? Naruto said, puzzled. Don't forget about the seals, Jiraiya said with a smirk. It's going to be harder for you to create clones with them messing with your chakra flow. Right, Fu said as she prepared to use the jutsu again. 3 weeks later, Naruto and Fu stood before their sensei in the clearing, ready for the next level of their training, their chakra control training finally completed. It had been annoying to both Naruto and Fu when they had tried to walk on the nearby lake and found themselves and all their clones struggling with it, and unable to stand on the surface for more than a few minutes before falling in. Although Naruto's control was good enough that he didn't need to redo the tree climbing exercise, Fu did, much to her chagrin. On the 3rd day, their control was good enough that they were able to stand on the surface with no trouble. Soon after, they began to hold leaves to their bodies with chakra. During the last days of the 3-week period, they and their clones would spar while they held a dozen of leaves to their bodies with no trouble. After the 3 weeks were over, their chakra control was better than it had ever been, despite the seals. Jiraiya also applied 4 limb-weighted seals to them both during the 2nd week. Okay, Pervy Sage, now, what's the next level of our training? Naruto asked confidently. Okay, for the next step, you're going to use a dozen clones for a while. You're both going to be learning to control large amounts of your nature chakra. Naruto Jiraiya pointed his thumb behind him to the waterfall. You're going to be using your chakra to split that waterfall in half with pure wind manipulation. Whoa was all Naruto could say as he gazed up at the waterfall. As for you, Fu, I want you to gather as much lightning as you can into an attack and slam it into the valley wall. I want you to cause as much damage with pure lightning chakra as you can. You got it, Ero-sensei. If you're ready, then get started. This is gonna take you a while, and after you're done with that, I've got a few scrolls for you with jutsu in your elements. Ero-sensei? Fu said. Huh. Think you could teach me that earth technique Naruto used when we sparred in Taki? That tunneling jutsu seemed useful. Sure, but for now, focus on your lightning manipulation. Fu nodded before she and Naruto got to work. Naruto could only barely part the water and Fu's lightning attack barely caused a crack in the wall. Neither was surprised, having already learned another element they had expected this. A little over 5 months later, Jiraiya finally released the seals and his apprentices were beaming at their accomplishment. After they had completed their nature chakra exercises in 2 weeks, they had returned to their usual training method. 100 clones divided into groups of 20. The shadow clones were either reading what Jiraiya told them, which Naruto still didn't like but had come to accept, chakra control, taijutsu katas, kenjutsu which Fu had wanted to learn since she learned the water-slicing blade and Naruto had wanted to learn after seeing Fu and remembering Zabuza, and learning jutsu of their elements. After the first month, they had truly mastered the exercises. Naruto could cut the waterfall on pure chakra manipulation easily and Fu could pull off something similar to Chidori, but more powerful, focused around her whole arm and not really fit for practical use. Still, she could now manipulate large amounts of the element easily and that's what mattered. She also had apparently gotten a few ideas from it but had filed them away for later. Naruto learned a few wind and fire jutsu and Fu had learned water and lightning jutsu, mostly C ranks and a few B ranks. Fu also learned the same 3 tunneling jutsu Naruto had and they both learned a 4th. They were about even now in terms of their elemental jutsu. It was easier for Fu to learn her elements because she had both affinities while Naruto only had the affinity to wind, so fire jutsu were harder for him to learn. Were it not for the 5-pronged seal, it would have been much easier for them, but this had paid off. Once they had completed their training at the end of the 5 months, Jiraiya had removed the seals and they saw results of doing months of training with them. They had spent the rest of the day adjusting to the lack of the seals and the results nearly took their breath away. Everything they had learned had become almost effortless when it came to manipulating their chakra. They had decided to try the clone jutsu, at Naruto's suggestion, and actually succeeded. Learning the jutsu was not that awe-inspiring. It was the lowest rank technique after all and virtually useless, but until now it had been impossible to pull off. They would always overload the jutsu with too much chakra no matter how little chakra they tried put into it. Now it was easy. There was about a month and a half until the first year of their training trip was over. Both Jinchuriki had grown quite a bit, though they dressed about the same. Naruto was now 5 feet 0 inches and Fu was 4 feet 9 inches and both looked slightly older. Right now, their taijutsu skills were high chunin to low jonin level, their kenjutsu was high chunin level, thanks to the 5-pronged seal their chakra control was kage level and they had mastered their elemental exercises. But they had yet to even begin to learn sealing arts, which were much more difficult than anything else they had learned so far. Naruto wanted to learn them to follow in his parents' footsteps and Fu thought it would be useful for a Jinchuriki to know. They had also not yet begun to explore genjutsu, which proved to be something of a challenge since it wasn't their teacher's strongest subject and of course, the better they got, the slower further progress came. Right now, the 2 Jinchuriki were standing before their sensei. Alright you two, for the rest of the month we're going to take a little break, Jiraiya said. What, are you kidding, pervy sage? We were just about to start with the strongest jutsu, and we haven't started on genjutsu yet, Naruto yelled. He had been kind of excited as they were about to start learning A-rank techniques. Which is part of the reason we're going to town. Genjutsu's not exactly my specialty. I need to get some scrolls if you want to learn it. That aside, if you keep up like this, you'll burn out. You need to learn to take your time to relax, Jiraiya said and Naruto scoffed. Sounds to me like you're just making excuses to go do some research, pervy sage. Well, of course, I've been stuck here with no young beauties, aside from Fu here for over 5 months. Flattery's not going to help you, Ero-sensei. Fu deadpanned. Well, anyway, I'm the teacher here and I say you two need some R&R, so we're headed to a nearby town and staying there for 2 weeks, like it or not. Huh, fine. Maybe this will change your mind, Naruto conceded before making a hand sign. Sexy jutsu. With a poof of smoke, Naruto was replaced with a tall, gorgeous blonde girl. Jiraiya barely managed to resist a nosebleed when he sensed Fu's feminine fury, obviously enraged at how degrading this was to women. Oh brat, you have no idea how badly you just messed up. What's wrong? Don't like what you see? The blonde asked. Jiraiya responded by pointing at Fu with a smirk as Fu's fists were trembling and her eyes were shadowed by her hair. Naruto changed back and looked clueless at the cause of her anger. Hey Fu, what's wrong? Naruto asked. He was answered with a punch to the face that sent him flying into the valley wall. By the end of the day, between Fu's anger and her explanation why that technique was insulting to women, Naruto had decided to never use that jutsu again in the presence of a female at least. 2 days later, Naruto and Fu were wandering the town Jiraiya had spoken of. It was a lively place with many restaurants, bars, inns, casinos, and brothels. They had some places for kids too, of course. The experience was good for Fu. This was the first time she stayed in a place where she wasn't treated like a demon in human form by its people for an extended period. Naruto, however, constantly felt as if he had forgotten something important. They were currently searching for something to do. They had spent some time at a bar. Their shinobi status allowed them to drink, and they found they both had a very high tolerance to alcohol, most likely due to their status as Jinchuriki. They each still had 500 ryo of what their sensei had left them. Wait a minute. Crap! Naruto suddenly shouted in a state of panic before he created a few dozen shadow clones and scattered, much to the surprise of Fu, who quickly took off after the real one. Wait! Naruto! What the hell's wrong with you? Fu yelled as she chased after the blonde. We need to find the pervy sage, fast. I just remembered something important. What is it? Tell me what's going on. The last time we were in a town like this, pervy sage used my money instead of his and left me broke, and he has our wallets. What? How could you forget about something like that? Fu shouted, panicking as well now. Neither of them had a lot of money, it was all in their wallets. If that old pervert had spent it. It was a year ago, get off my back! Naruto yelled back. Found him, he added as one of his clones had found him and dispelled. They ran to a bar and found Jiraiya where you would expect him, on a couch surrounded by women laughing, his face red from alcohol. Both their wallets were on the table, about half empty when they had been full last time they saw them. Both walked forward and picked up their wallets with twitching eyes. Hey kids, having fun? Jiraiya said as if nothing was wrong here. Why would you do this? I've seen your checkbook, Fu said, still twitching as she looked at her wallet. Well, what can I say? Jiraiya said, looking sheepish. Nothing. Naruto answered as he and Fu both created a dozen shadow clones, and Fu and her clones immediately created water swords. They were both sharing the same thought. The old pervert had to pay for using their money, especially when he was rich. Hey, hang on a minute, Jiraiya said, holding his hands in front of him defensively as the girls wisely chose to run. The pair and their clones attacked without another word. Jiraiya didn't fight back, but he didn't let them hit him either, until a Naruto clone got behind him as he ducked under a slash from a water sword. Konohagakure's most secret and sacred technique, 1,000 years of death. The Naruto clone called out. Jiraiya panicked, recognizing the technique, but it was too late, and seconds later he was launched into a wall by the assault. Naruto smirked as their clones dispelled while Fu looked on in complete shock for a moment before she doubled over in laughter as Naruto made a V sign with a toothy grin in victory and Jiraiya lay on the floor in pain and mortification. And so Jiraiya learned to never spend his pupils' money without their consent again. It was around 4 p.m. on the first day of the second week. Naruto and Fu had made a mistake and spent most of their money. Having only 300 ryo left between them, they walked around aimlessly, trying to find something to do. They considered training for the rest of the day, despite Jiraiya's wishes. As they wandered, they walked by a gambling parlor. There were several young to middle-aged men inside playing dice. Hey, want to play Chohan? We might be able to make some more money. At worst, we'll have some fun, Fu said. One of these places? Sure, I guess, Naruto replied. They walked in and all the gamblers turned to them. Hey kids, want in? One of the gamblers asked. Got any money? A little, this enough? Naruto asked, showing what they had left. Sure kid, we'll take whatever money you got, he said with a smirk. An hour later and Fu's eye was twitching. She had made 300 ryo. Naruto on the other hand was laughing with a grin on his face. He had taken everything from the people he was playing against but the cloths off their backs. You've got to be kidding, Fu said below her breath as she looked at Naruto and his winnings. Damn it, who's the idiot who let these two in here? One of the gamblers asked, the others grumbling similar thoughts. Hey Naruto, ever been to a casino? Fu asked, getting an idea. Huh. Oh yeah, once, when we were looking for Grandma Tsunade. It was after Pervy Sage spent all my money, but I won it all back with 1 coin. You won enough to fill that wallet of yours with 1 coin? Fu asked. Yeah, Naruto suddenly stopped talking before he and Fu smiled evilly. Hey guys, where's the nearest casino? Fu asked with a sweet smile. Everyone there thought the same thing. Poor bastards, they'll never know what hit them. Late that night, Jiraiya returned to their hotel room, sober but reeking of alcohol, to find Naruto and Fu with identical smiles on their faces. Huh, looks like you two had fun today. Anything exciting happen? Don't tell me I missed out on a research opportunity from you, Jiraiya said with a grin as he saw their smiles. They both turned to him, grinning at some shared secret while Naruto held back laughter. Alright, what's got you so happy? He asked before Naruto pulled out a sealing scroll and promptly opened it, and in a poof of smoke, about 30 million Ryo in cases appeared. What the hell happened? What did you do? One explanation later. You made all this at a casino? Jiraiya asked in disbelief. So this is where Tsunade's luck went. Back in Konoha, Tsunade was sitting at a small round table with Anko and a fair amount of money between them, both holding cards when she sneezed. Someone must be talking about me, she noted. Probably the old pervert, Anko stated with a smirk. Lady Tsunade, Shizen yelled as she ran into the room. You shouldn't be doing this. I thought you'd stop when you became Hokage. Oh, lighten up, Shizen, I'm only playing for small change. Yeah, but that's enough for Dango, so hurry up and let me take your money, Anko said, still smirking. Aren't you cocky? This should wipe that smirk off your face, Tsunade said as she showed her hand, for tens and a queen. She reached for the money but is stopped by Anko. Not so fast, Lady Hokage, straight flush, Anko said with a slight mocking tone as she showed her hand, an ace to a 5. Shizen sighed and face palmed and Tsunade twitched. Shizen wished her master would learn to stop gambling. She really didn't understand it. Winning can be a thrill, but Tsunade almost never did, and when she did win it was usually a bad omen. Speaking of her, I'd better be far away when she hears about this, but I should send a shadow clone. She's bound to vent on the brat, should be quite the show, Jiraiya thought to himself. Wait, what did you mean just now? Fu asked. About Tsunade? Ever hear of the legendary sucker? Jiraiya asked with a smirk. His teammate's misfortune always amused him. Fu was speechless upon finding out the legendary Kunoichi and Medicnine and the legendary sucker, the woman who would gamble all her money away knowing she always lost, were the same person before she noticed something and thought of all the S-class ninja she knew of. Do all really powerful ninja have quirks and eccentricities like this? Fu asked, a bit afraid since she hoped to be an S-class ninja one day. Jiraiya cupped his chin in thought. Come to think of it, pretty much. Not all but most. Maybe it has something to do with the crazy training you need to reach this level, or maybe most people, with a few exceptions like the 4th Hokage, need to be a little crazy to reach their full potential, but typically, the stronger you are, the greater the chance for some quirk or form of mental instability, Jiraiya replied, much to the pair's horror. Were it not for the fact they had the Akatsuki after them, Naruto and Fu may have started reconsidering their life goals after hearing this. But enough of such thoughts, I for one, am going to bed. Oh right, first, what do you plan to do with that money? Well, I hadn't really thought of it. I guess I'll get a house, some ramen. Naruto trailed off. And you, Fu? Jiraiya said. Fu shrugged in response. Well, I've got an idea. What are you planning, pervy sage? Naruto asked, narrowing his eyes. Oh, don't worry, you both want to be swordsmen, right? They nodded, not sure what that has to do with it. Well, after we're done relaxing here, I think we'll head to Takumi village. Really? Alright, I bet they'll make us something awesome, Naruto exclaimed excitedly. His readings had told him of Takumi village, the village of artisans. They made the highest quality ninja tools and weapons in all the nations. They were even capable of creating weapons of the same grade as the blades of the 7 swordsmen of the mist. Fu seemed excited too. Yeah, if we can convince them to make weapons for you. Anyway, that's after our downtime, now let's get some sleep. A week later, they had had their fun and were just about ready to begin their training again, but as Jiraiya said, they would take a side trip to Takumi village. Naruto had gone to another casino and took for a small fortune before he and by association, Fu and Jiraiya were banned, making a total of 70 million Ryo, which they opened an account for. Currently, they had just set foot in Takumi village. Takumi village was a small village that lay deep in a bamboo forest. They walked through the village and were looked at oddly by the people, not nearly as bad as the looks the two Jinchuriki used to get in their old villages, but it was still affecting them, reminding them of times they wished they could forget. Ero-sensei, why are they looking at us like this? Fu asked. Probably because the ninja villages have been nothing but trouble for them, Jiraiya replied. Huh? Naruto responded. The people of Takumi are freelance weaponsmiths. They don't have any real alliance with anyone and few ninja. They sell their tools to anyone who can pay. What's wrong with that? Sounds like a good deal to me, Naruto asked. It is in times of peace, Jiraiya replied seriously. Before Naruto could ask what he meant, the old man stopped. They stood before a unique smithy, far more elaborate than its competitors. Alright, here we are. This is the smithy of Saimai, named after the man who founded this village, and the best weaponsmith alive. Jiraiya said. Why do I get the feeling there's a catch? Fu asked. Good instincts. If he doesn't like you, he won't make you a weapon, Jiraiya said as he knocked on the door. Come in, a gruff voice said. Jiraiya opened the door and they stepped inside what seemed like a cross between a craftsman's workshop, smithy and laboratory. Inside was a tall, lean old man in his late 60s. He had a triangular beard, shaggy gray hair and onyx eyes. He wore a gray shirt with matching pants, wooden Geta sandals and a dark purple long coat. I guess you're here for a weapon. You got it, but not for me, Jiraiya said as he stepped aside and indicated his pupils. Huh? Are you kidding? These brats? You think they're worthy of wielding a blade of this village, let alone one of mine? Don't make me laugh. Naruto growled and Fu narrowed her eyes. Don't underestimate us, old man. Naruto started before taking a step forward, which seemed to amuse the old man. Hey now, don't tell me you're going to attack me. Our village doesn't train ninja brat, we only learn to manipulate chakra for our craft. Beating on an old man with little skill as a ninja isn't exactly going to prove your worth, Saimai said, although said this in a mocking tone, as if he believed he would win in a fight between them. Speaking of being an old man, I can't do all the work around here at my age and my apprentice left on a delivery. If you help out around here till he gets back in a few days, I'll consider it. Naruto was about to object when Jiraiya answered for him. Fine, they're all yours. What? Pervy Sage, are you serious? Naruto asked indignantly. Look, if you want the best weapon, he's your guy. Besides, think of it as strength training. No doubt he'll have you do some heavy lifting and I'll reapply your weight seals. Jiraiya replied with a smirk and a tone that said that though he was amused, this was final. Naruto grumbled. Ero-sensei, what are you going to do while we're working on this? Fu asked with narrowed eyes, sure he was just going to visit hot springs or use his transparency jutsu. Oh, don't you worry about me, there's plenty I can do in my spare time. Have fun now, you two, Jiraiya said as he walked off. 20 minutes later, they stood outside the shop were ready to begin. Alright, brats, the old man said as he walked to a large open container, almost empty aside from a few pieces of charcoal. Your first job is to cut bamboo from the forest, and use it to make charcoal and fill this back up. Can't work the forge if I don't have any fuel. 3 days later and the pair were questioning whether or not this was worth it. Saimai had them restock supplies, make repairs, basically a series of D-rank missions. As if that weren't bad enough, the guy treated them like dirt. Finally, Naruto had had enough. That's it. I'm not doing this crap anymore, I'll get a weapon somewhere else, Naruto shouted as he threw down a load of bricks he was carrying and crossed his arms. Not from this village, you won't. I'm the closest to a leader this place has. I say the word and no one here would make a blade for you or your friend, Saimai said, shocking Naruto and Fu. What the hell's your problem, old man? You and everyone else here been acting like we brought the plague or something, Naruto yelled. Because your villages bring us nothing but war and death, Saimai yelled, shocking the pair. What do you mean? Fu asked, curious of what Saimai meant. In times of peace, everything's fine. We sell our weapons, some of the finest in all the continent, to everyone. You ninja take those tools for granted, you show us no respect for our work, offer us no aid. When war comes, we are targeted so that the enemy doesn't use our weapons against them, even though we more than likely have made weapons for both sides. We have no true alliances, so we're left to fend for ourselves, and if we request aid from any village, we're reminded of our neutrality, regardless of what we've done for that village. Saimai explained, much to the pair's shock. Both take on sad, pensive expressions. Our village has come close to destruction many times, and when peace arrives again, you ask for us to make weapons for you, when you attacked us unprovoked or denied us the help we needed. If we did actually make an alliance, all that village's enemies would make it a priority to destroy us. Your ninja villages have brought us nothing but trouble, the old man said before he began to walk away. I'll help, Naruto said quietly. Huh? I'll help your village whenever you need it after I become Hokage, Naruto said with determination. You want to be Hokage? Heh, as if a brat like you could ever hope to be a Kage. Don't underestimate me. I don't quit and don't run. I'll become Hokage and protect the village, and I'll help your village whenever you need it, Naruto declared. No one should have to watch as those precious to them die, and as Hokage, I'll do everything in my power to help you, for everything you've done for us, and I never go back on my work, because that's my ninja way. Fu, whose face was slightly tinged red, and Saimai said nothing for a few moments. Fu's respect for the boy had risen a bit from hearing this. After a moment, Saimai scoffed. Huh, whatever you say, kid, the master weaponsmith said as he walked away. Finish with that, you're done for the day. He turned around a corner to find Jiraiya leaning against it. Jiraiya stopped him as he walked by. Interesting kid, huh? Jiraiya said. TCH, why'd you bring such a loudmouth brat with you, like he'll actually follow through with any of that? Don't sell the kid short. Being Hokage is his life's dream. He lived a harsh life, he was an orphan shunned by everyone for something he had no control over. But no matter what happened, he never gave up. Kid's loyal to a fault and he always keeps his word, he'll follow through, provided his hot-headedness doesn't get him killed, that is. Saimai doesn't respond and a moment later he walked away. The next day, they were called to Saimai's workshop. A young man wearing something similar to Saimai had joined them. He had brown eyes and hair. Ah, you must be the ones who helped my master when I was away, you have my thanks. The young man said sincerely, loyal to his teacher and aware of his advanced age. You're welcome, Fu said respectfully. Hey, yeah, now let's get out of here, Naruto said as he turned to the door. I thought you came here for weapons, kid, the old man said, surprising the two teens and his apprentice. Huh, Naruto intelligently responded. I've decided to forge weapons for you too, so tell me what you want already, Saimai said. After a brief moments of celebration from Naruto, after which Saimai threatened to change his mind. They told him they wanted swords. Master Saimai hasn't specially forged a weapon for anyone in years, that these two were able to convince him, the apprentice thought. Alright, Saimai said as he brought out two unique pieces of black metal. Here. Focus your chakra in these. Naruto and Fu did as told. Good, now there's just a matter of payment, 10 million. What? Fu exclaimed while Naruto yelled, are you serious? No way these things are. Naruto, Fu, stop complaining. Brat, remind me how much you won at the casinos. Trust me, it'll be worth it, Jiraiya said. It better be. Naruto grumbled as he got out his checkbook. Yeah, or I'll do that 1,000 years of death thing with my water sword. Fu added, even if it wasn't her money, she didn't want Naruto to waste this kind of money on her. Jiraiya paled slightly, knowing she'd do it and Naruto would help her. If he knew it was coming, it wouldn't be too hard to avoid, but he had to sleep sometime. Saimai grinned as he was given the check. Wonderful, your swords will be ready in a month. For the rest of the month, they returned to the valley and trained. They learned some new jutsu, and their kenjutsu skill improved. Jiraiya had also began to teach them genjutsu as he had bought some scrolls while they were with Saimai from the nearby Tanigakure, which they found surprisingly easy, likely due to their unique chakra control training. They had just arrived back at Takumi. They made their way to Saimai's smithy and knocked on the door. They got permission and went in. Well, it's about time you got back. I finished 3 days ago, Saimai said as he walked deeper into the workshop to retrieve their weapons. I haven't forgotten my threat, Ero-sensei, Fu said menacingly. Jiraiya put on a strong front, but he was very afraid of her threat. Here you go, the weapons maker said upon his return, carrying 2 swords. Both were jian, both about 28 inches long in brown scabbards. The first had black wrapping around the handle and a green circular gem in its gold guard. The second also had a gold guard and white wrapping with a green gem in the same location as the first. Whoa, Naruto said as he and Fu took their swords. Fu was speechless as she examined hers, the one with the black wrapping. Boy, your blade is called the Hisho Taichi, in English, soaring long sword. With it, you will be able to freely manipulate the wind. Once you master it, you'll be able to use most of your wind jutsu with just a swipe of the sword and chakra manipulation, as well as fire blades of wind, all with minimal chakra. It will also allow you to counter and negate, or even redirect wind attacks. Awesome, Naruto said in awe as he drew the sword and looked at its blue blade. And you, girl, your sword is called Okibi no Yaiba, sword of blazing fire. Basically the same, but it uses fire and it can also absorb fire-based attacks. That's great and all, but I don't have the fire element. I know that, that's why I had you focus your chakra into that metal. The swords can convert normal chakra into their element. Just channel normal chakra through it, and it will produce fire as powerful as any ninjutsu. Also, you can channel other elements through the blade, like lightning for instance, for normal effect. Well, I gotta say, you live up to your reputation, Fu said as she drew her sword and looked at the black blade. Like I need you to tell me that, Saimai said as he walked away. Hey, I never got your names. Oh, sorry, I'm Naruto Uzumaki, the future Hokage, Naruto said. Fu, formerly of Taki, Fu said. Hey, I'll remember those names, try not to get yourselves killed out there, the old man said as he disappeared deeper into the smithy. He didn't know why, but he had a feeling that boy would live up to his dreams and that he would be hearing both their names again. Alright kids, seeing as those weapons are dangerous, let's head back to the valley. Once you get the hang of those swords, we'll get started on your tenant's chakra. Then I'll start teaching you sealing jutsu, Jiraiya said to his students. 2 months after they had received their swords, Naruto and Fu were sparring with Jiraiya. The pair had raised their skills with taijutsu and kenjutsu to low jonin level and trained with their swords abilities. They had also learned a few new jutsu with their elements as well as a few other techniques such as the Shuriken Shadow Clone Jutsu. Naruto had also begun to learn space-time jutsu to follow in his father's footsteps, but it was the same problem that they had with genjutsu. Jiraiya wasn't skilled in that branch of ninja arts aside from the summoning jutsu, and he had made little headway in the art. Their skill with genjutsu had improved and they could now use it in an actual fight, though not to particularly great effect yet. Still, they knew even a weak genjutsu could turn a battle if used correctly and at the right time. Jiraiya blocked Fu's Okibi no Yaiba with his kunai. The two traded blows for a bit before Fu jumped back to avoid an upward slash and lunged forward, her sword suddenly consumed in fire as she slashed it through the air, unleashing a wave of fire. Jiraiya jumped over the fire and Fu only for Naruto to burst from the ground with an upward slash where he landed. The Toad Sage leaned back, barely avoiding the blade before jumping back and running though hand signs as Naruto charged towards him. Ninja art, needle Jizo! Jiraiya yelled, his hair transformed into countless sharp needles and encasing him completely. Naruto stabbed at Jiraiya only for the blade to clash against the needle armor. Naruto jumped backwards into the air, recognizing this attack pattern. Ninja art, hell needles! Countless needles fired from the armor at the blonde, who swiped his sword, creating a gust of wind that blew the needles away. He landed near Fu, who thrust her blade forward as he slashed his. Tempest wind! Searing blaze! Naruto and Fu yelled out, respectively. Naruto's slash created a powerful gust of wind, while a stream of fire erupted from Fu's sword, creating a firestorm. Jiraiya cursed at this as he disappeared in the blaze. Naruto and Fu looked on, both knowing they didn't catch the pervert. The blaze cleared to reveal Jiraiya was nowhere in sight. Naruto and Fu skipped back as they detected something beneath them, and Jiraiya jumped out of the ground. Earth-style dark swamp! Jiraiya called out and the ground Naruto and Fu landed on turned to chakra-infused mud. The pair land in the mud and despite their struggles, sink into the ground. Jiraiya smirked as he watched the pair struggle. It looks like it's still too soon for you to face me head-on, Jiraiya said, only for his smirk to fade when the two grinned before turning to smoke. Lashing wind! A whirling gust of wind carves a path in the ground towards the Toad Sage from the tree line behind him. Damn! Jiraiya jumped out of the way of the blast, right where the pair wanted him. Jiraiya landed and suddenly, a swarm of insects erupted from the ground and the Toad Sage yelled in shock as he is consumed by the swarm before a blade of wind cut into him and he to burst into smoke. Naruto and Fu looked where the sage once stood as they walked back into the clearing before smiling. Alright you two, the real Jiraiya said as he approached the pair who turned to him. You win, but don't get cocky just because you beat my shadow clone. Get some rest, tomorrow we'll start training you to draw on your Biju's chakra. Take the rest of the day off. That night, Naruto and Fu talked while they sat around a fire at their camp and Fu noticed Naruto had been quiet, thinking about something intensely. Naruto, what's wrong? Fu asked concerned. Huh? What do you mean nothing's wrong? Naruto replied with a fake smile, which didn't fool the green-haired girl for a moment. Naruto, I know a fake smile when I see one, she said and his smile faded. What's wrong? Does it have to do with the Kyuubi? Yeah, there's something I haven't told you, Naruto said before telling her as much as he knew about the deaths of his parents. Fu was shocked to hear Naruto was the son of the fourth Hokage, and about the deal he made with the Kyuubi. This also intrigued the Nanabai. The Biju could hear and see everything their hosts could, although they could only converse when their host wished it, when asleep, when they felt intense negative emotion or when trying to channel their Biju's chakra. The Biju's feelings on each other, with a few exceptions, ranged from mild distaste to outright hatred, but they recognized each other's power. Though the Nanabai hated the Kyuubi, she also recognized he was much more powerful than her. That the Kyuubi would admit to needing help to kill a human was troubling. So tomorrow, we'll find out who's after us and I'll find out who's responsible for what happened that night. I see. Hey, Naruto, Fu said, getting his attention, wanting to get his mind off that. I don't think I ever asked, but what are your friends like? Oh, well, there's Shikamaru. He's the only one of us who made Chunin. He's lazy and he's always complaining about something and would like to watch clouds all day, but he's really smart. There's Kiba. He's louder than I am and acts like he's in charge, but he's really loyal and always has his dog with him. He's an Inuzuka, isn't he? Fu asked. That was one of the clans Jiraiya had made them read about. Yeah. Then there's Ino. She was always thinking about boys and dieting. A fangirl? Fu asked with a slight scowl. Yeah, but she was getting out of it when I left. She always speaks her mind, she's confident and has a kinder side. Then there's Choji. He's an Akimichi, so he's fat. But don't call him that actually, never call any Akimichi that he's always eating. But he's kind and friendly and knows a lot about food. He went on to briefly describe Irika, Neji, Lee, Shino, who he didn't know much about but had Fu's interest due to his insects, and Tenten, who he also didn't know much about but felt was worth mentioning. There's Hinata. She's kind and determined, but she's really quiet and she always turns away when I look at her. What do you mean? Fu asked, her eyes narrowing slightly. Well, whenever I look at her, she turns away and blushes. Naruto explained, and a look of realization crossed Fu's face. What? Nothing, Fu replied, feeling slightly jealous of the girl. Anyway, then there's Sakura, Naruto said, looking to the ground. She's your teammate, right? The one you like? Fu asked and he nodded. What's wrong? It's just she likes someone else. You're sure? Fu asked and Naruto began to explain the relationship between them, which led to her asking about Sasuke. To say she was shocked by what she heard would be an understatement. Fu knew of the Uchiha massacre and of the survivors, but didn't know the two were brothers, and she was horrified by what Sasuke did to Naruto at the Valley of the End. Naruto, why do you want to save him if he rammed 2 lightning blades through your chest? I understand wanting to save your friend, but it sounds like he wants nothing to do with you or the village. Is it because you made a promise to Sakura? That's part of it, but what kind of Hokage would I be if I couldn't save one friend? Naruto asked, and Fu's eyes widened slightly. I knew, since I first met him, that he was full of hatred. He glared at me, with the same look I got everywhere, but he wasn't looking at me. He looked at everything like that. But after we became a team, he changed. He started to open up to me and Sakura and risked his life to protect us. He even once took and hit for me we both thought would kill us. He and my team became like family. He was like a brother to me. But then Itachi did something to his mind. That and Orochimaru's curse seal changed him. I don't care how hard it'll be, I won't abandon my friend. Not only that, but he said, and Fu listened intently. I know that if I had ever given in to the glares, the hatred, I could easily have ended up like him. Naruto finished, and a melancholy mood fell over both of them, each knowing they could have easily had their lives ruled by hatred too. I understand wanting to save him from living in hatred and loneliness like we used to, but he's not like us. We lived like that because everyone shunned us. He abandoned those who cared about him and chose to live like that willingly, Fu said sadly. Yeah, but still I can't abandon him, Naruto stated. Naruto, what would you do if he became a threat to Konoha? Fu asked, and Naruto's head shot up to look at her. I know what you're going to say, but just consider it. If he became a threat to Konoha, what would you do? You asked me what kind of Hokage would you be if you couldn't save one friend, but look at what happened when Jiraiya and the 3rd Hokage let Orochimaru go. A friend in danger from enemies is one thing, but what kind of Hokage would you be if you failed to protect the lives of your people and comrades trying to save one friend who lost his way, or because you were unwilling to stop him when you could have? Naruto looked pensive as he stared into the fire, thinking of what Fu had said. He remembered what Jiraiya had told him. Had he wanted to, Jiraiya could have killed Orochimaru after he left the village, just like he could have killed Sasuke had he not redirected his attack to scratch his forehead protector during their final clash at the Valley of the End. Because the 3rd couldn't kill his ex-student and Jiraiya couldn't kill his former friend, Orochimaru had been free to commit all the crimes and atrocities he has since. Fu gave him a few moments to think about this before she spoke up again. You know it will probably never be the same even if you do bring him back. I know, Naruto replied, and they were silent for a few moments. He had thought about that a lot recently, and even if Tsunade and Konoha forgave Sasuke for leaving and didn't execute him or lock him up, what would keep him from leaving again? Why do you keep chasing after Sakura, if you know she loves Sasuke? Pervy Sage asked me the same thing. Well, maybe you should move on. Besides, it sounds like she thinks of you like a sibling to me. Maybe. Anyway, it's getting late, we should turn in, Fu said, getting up. She was a little disappointed with how that conversation turned out. She was trying to get his mind off unpleasant things and cheer him up, but it didn't turn out that well. If anything, he had more on his mind now. Still, she knew she had made good points. You go ahead, I'll stay up a while longer, Naruto said. As he thought about it, he realized the girl was right. He had actually thought of this a few times before over the past year. It was somewhat hypocritical to think about how the third and Jiraiya could have stopped Orochimaru when he let Sasuke go for the same reasons. By the time he went to bed, he decided he would do everything he could to bring Sasuke back because right now his only target was his brother. But if he ever went too far or if he ever turned his hatred on Konoha, he would do everything in his power to make him see reason, but if it came down to it, he would have to do what was best for the village, even if it meant breaking his promise to Sakura. He had also long since realized that he and Sakura would likely never be together. Maybe Fu and the pervy sage are right, I still want Sakura to be happy, but I shouldn't give my heart to someone who doesn't feel the same. He was glad Fu was with him. Over the last year, the two had become close friends, and she gave him good advice. She rarely tried to tell him what to do and instead usually told him facts, asked questions and let him reach his own conclusions, and she usually knew just what to say. He didn't think anyone understood him better than she did. He stayed up a little longer, thinking about his bonds with Sasuke, Sakura and Fu as well as what he would learn the next day before he got up, put out the fire and went to bed. Naruto and Fu stood before Jiraiya. It was midday in the clearing and the skies were cloudy. Today they would begin training to use the power of their Biju. Alright kids, we're going to start training with your Biju's powers. Well, actually I'll help Fu since the Kyuubi has apparently decided to help Naruto, Jiraiya said. All he would do involving Naruto's training was watch his progress to make sure the Biju wasn't deceiving them and suppress the Kyuubi's chakra if he lost control. Speaking of which, before you start training, Naruto, I want you to talk to the Kyuubi about what happened the night of his attack. Though I'm sure you already planned to. He may be willing to tell you now. I need to know if my hunch was right, Jiraiya said seriously. Alright, who do you think it is, pervy sage? Naruto replied. Madara Uchiha, Jiraiya said grimly, shocking his students. They had read about him in one of the history books Jiraiya had them read, or forced to read in Naruto's case. Madara, but he's one of the founders of Konoha, right? The one who betrayed the village? How could he still be alive? Fu asked. I don't know, but he's the only one I can think of who would have the ability and motive to pull off an attack like that, and that the Kyuubi would hate so much but be unable to kill. Alright, pervy sage, Naruto said before getting in a meditative position and entering his mindscape. When he opened his eyes, he stood before the cage of the Kyuubi. I was wondering when you would show up, boy, the Kyuubi said as he looked down on his container. It's been over a year since we made the bargain, though I must admit, you've spent your time well. He had to admit that the boy's progression, as well as that of the Nanabai's host, had been impressive for a human anyway. Yeah, before we get started. I heard your conversation, brat. The sage is correct. The one who broke your mother's seal who I need you to kill is indeed Madara Uchiha, Kyuubi said, causing Naruto's eyes to widen. But how is he still alive? There are ways to extend one's life. You should already know that from the snake. Naruto's eyes narrowed, knowing who he is referring to. As for how, I do not know. I too believed he had died fighting your first Hokage until he appeared before me that night. Before I train you, you should tell your friends of this. Like me, the Nanabai is rational, unlike some of our brethren. She will likely agree to help the girl if that man desires us. As much as I hate to admit it, none of us can face that bastard with any hope of success. Before I go, tell me exactly what happened the night I was born. The Kyuubi seemed to debate this for a moment. Very well. Kyuubi then explained the events of that night as he saw them. How when Naruto was born he was trying to break out of the seal, and that just as the fourth Hokage was going to repair Kushina's seal, Madara, though the Kyuubi didn't know who it was at the time, appeared. How he killed the midwives and guards and held Naruto hostage, and how Minato was forced to teleport away to save them when he found explosive tags attached to his blanket. How while he was away Madara had placed Kushina in a seal formation, and soon afterward, the Kyuubi fell under his control, and after that it was a blur to the fox demon. The next thing he knew, he was attacking Konoha, and since they were attacking him, he continued his rampage until the fourth Hokage teleported them both to his safe house and Kushina held him down to be sealed, and after one last attempt to free himself he was sealed by the fourth. Naruto was proud of his father, and amazed by his mother. His admiration for them soared when he heard his mother was able to hold down something as powerful as the Kyuubi in the condition she was in, and that their last act saved his life. On the other hand, his hatred for the ancient Uchiha reached an all-new high. That he used him as a hostage, when he was a newborn, showed that the man was pure evil. Why did you continue to attack Konoha when you were released from Madara's control? Kyuubi smirked. To put it simply, it was fun. Naruto scowled. That aside, I was being attacked. I retaliated. The Kyuubi explained, and Naruto looked slightly surprised. So, if they weren't attacking, you would have left? Naruto asked incredulously. It was hard to believe that the Kyuubi, who he had been told was and had so far proven himself to be a mass of hate and destruction, would just leave. Perhaps. It was amusing, and I have destroyed and killed simply because I felt like it, and I feel no remorse or pity, but I have better things to do with my time than wipe out a pathetic village. Kyuubi responded. Now go, return when you are ready to train. When Naruto opened his eyes to find Fu and Jiraiya looking at him, both wished to know if Jiraiya's assumption was right. If it was, they may have to up their training. Good to see you're back, so? Jiraiya said. You were right, pervy sage. Naruto replied, looking at the ground with narrowed eyes. Fu's eyes widened and Jiraiya's narrowed. It was Madara. Naruto then began to explain what the fox told him. Fu felt sorry Naruto lost his parents in such a way, and Jiraiya was once again kicking himself for not being there, and promising himself he wouldn't fail his new students like he did his sensei, Minato, Kushina, and the trio from AIM. Kyuubi said the Nanabi might help you. He said she won't want to fight Madara any more than he would. Wouldn't surprise me, it's not exactly smart to fight an opponent who can control you at will. Jiraiya said. You ready, Fu? Fu nodded before she too entered her mindscape. Fu found herself in her mindscape, a dark cave with dripping stalactites standing before a large cage. Inside was an enormous blue armored beetle with 6 wing-like tails along with a 7th normal tail coming out of the end of its abdomen. So, Madara is alive and likely the leader of this Akatsuki. To think he survived all these years. Nanabi said, still surprised. You met him? Fu asked. No, but I am aware of him and his abilities. Kyuubi is right, loath as I am to admit that, and that I must do this, but I will help you. I can have no true freedom so long as Madara lives, and I cannot face him myself. Fu looked surprised. She hadn't really expected her to help. Return to your friends and inform them you have my aid. Nanabi instructed. After Fu gave the news to Naruto and Jiraiya, the pair returned to their biju. They found that training to use their chakra was much more difficult than everything else they had done so far. Calling on the chakra wasn't really that hard, especially after Jiraiya loosened Naruto's seal. What was hard was controlling themselves once they entered their tailed states, and the less control they had, the more the chakra damaged them. Worse still, channeling large amounts of their biju's chakra, enough to enter the one-tailed state, poisoned and crippled their clones, ensuring they wouldn't be able to train in anything else and had to focus exclusively on their tenant's chakra. Still, with their biju willingly, albeit begrudgingly, helping them, they made good progress. 2 months after beginning their training, they could enter the 2-tailed state at will and control themselves. They began to lose control at 3 tails and were warned they would lose control at 4 for now. However, they found even though they had control, the chakra still poisoned their clones, crippling them and at high enough levels dispelling them. Their biju informed them that unless they gained full control, which they didn't tell them how to do, just that they weren't ready, this effect would continue. They could, however, still use clones with their initial Jinchuriki forms. Jiraiya later informed them, much to their horror, that they would have to defeat their biju within their mindscape in order to completely control their power, but that there was something they had to do beforehand if they were to have any hope of winning, but he didn't know what that requirement was. After another month, they increased their control to the 3rd tail and could remain somewhat in control in their 4-tailed state. Well, they could tell friend from foe anyway, luckily for Jiraiya, who knew that even he would have trouble against those forms without Sage Mode. They had been told by their biju that their current 4-tailed states were actually a second version of their chakra cloaks, and they automatically transformed into them because of their lack of control. The pair stood before Jiraiya in another clearing next to a river. Their biju chakra training had pretty much destroyed the area they had been training in until now. Jiraiya had gotten out a sealing scroll for reasons they didn't yet know. Okay, kids, say goodbye because you won't be seeing each other for the next 2 months. Jiraiya said, shocking the pair. What? What are you talking about, pervy sage? Where are we going? Naruto asked. It's about time you get better acquainted with your summons and what they can do, so you and I will be spending the next 2 months with the toads while Fu learns from the chameleons. Jiraiya explained. In addition to allowing us to summon them, summoning contracts allow them to summon us to their home. So, once you've said your goodbyes, I want you to summon messengers and tell them about our plans. After that, they'll reverse summon us to their homes. Okay, Fu said as she turned to Naruto. Well, guess I'll see you in 2 months. Fu said sadly. Naruto smiled somewhat sadly at her. Don't worry about it, these 2 months will be over before you know it. Fu returned Naruto's smile. Besides, I'm sure we'll learn a lot of awesome techniques. Yeah, you're right, Fu said. You ready? Naruto nodded. Alright then, go ahead, Jiraiya said, and the two made the hand signs. Summoning Jutsu. The pair slammed their hands to the ground, and in poofs of smoke, a fairly large, by normal standards, light green toad and brown chameleon appeared. "What's up?" the chameleon asked. "I need you two to contact the great toad sages and the head of the chameleons," Jiraiya said. "I want my 2 students here to learn how to use your abilities and work with you, so I want them to train with you guys for the next 2 months. Jiraiya explained, and the summons nodded. "Now, if I'm not mistaken, there should be a portal in the chameleon's forest that leads to the land of Next, like the toads have a portal that leads to Konoha, that right?" Jiraiya asked the chameleon. "Yeah. Since the country and the Kubasaki clan have been destroyed, I guess we'll connect it to your village later, but for now, yes, the portal leads to the land of Next." "Good, okay, that's all," Jiraiya said, and the 2 summons nodded and vanished. Jiraiya then walked to Fu and handed her the scroll. "Alright, Fu, this scroll contains instructions on what I want you to do while you're with the chameleons, some techniques, knowledge of sealing arts, and a map with the place and time we'll meet." "Okay, so Fu began before she disappeared in a poof of smoke. Naruto's eyes widened, but before he could say anything, he and Jiraiya vanished as well. When Naruto opened his eyes, he and Jiraiya were in a breathtaking mountain range with a rich and beautiful land. "So, you're little Jiraiya's new pupil, eh?" said an old male toad standing before him. "Huh? Who are you, Grandpa Toad?" Naruto asked, and the toad chuckled at the name. "And why are you calling Pervy Sage little?" Jiraiya grimaced when the toad heard Naruto refer to him like this. The toad laughed when he heard this. "Pervy Sage. That fits him perfectly," the toad said, still laughing. "Naruto, be mindful of who you're speaking to. This is Fukusaku, the head of the toads and the one who taught me the sage arts." Jiraiya scolded a shocked Naruto. "He reminds me a lot of you when you were young, little Jiraiya," Fukusaku said with a smile. "Though he lacks your perverted side." "You're the one who taught Pervy Sage, huh? Hey, what are sage arts anyway?" "Well, it's a little early to teach you and you don't really fit the requirements yet, but there's no harm in explaining them to you," Fukusaku replied before he began to explain senjutsu to Naruto. At the same time, Fu reappeared in a lush forest brimming with insect life, standing before Shiromari. "It's been a long time, Fu. So, Rika tells me you wish to train with us for a while," the chameleon boss said. "Yeah, for the next 2 months. How've you been?" "Good, thank you again for allowing me to finally return to my family." "So, what can you tell me about you guys and what can I learn from you?" Daichi didn't really know much. "I've been told the 2 you've been traveling with have the Toad contract. Well, we don't have anything like their senjutsu, but we can teach you some unique jutsu, how to imitate our camouflage abilities and how to work with us and use our abilities," Shiromari said. 3 days into his training, Naruto was laying on his back staring at the night sky. He had been amazed by what he learned of sage mode and senjutsu, though they didn't start teaching him yet. Surprisingly enough, he understood what they were talking about without them having to dumb things down or create analogies. He had to admit, Jiraiya's insistence on having his clones read and memorize all those books was paying off. He knew that before that, a lot of what Fukusaku said would have completely gone over his head. He had also thought of ways to use the wind like sage mode manipulated natural energy, and thought up a few new techniques based on the idea. These ideas were only possible due to their training with their elements with those 5-pronged seals. While there, he had a reunion with Gamakichi, Gamatatsu, and Gamabunta, and they and Fukusaku had told him of some of the toad's other abilities. At the moment, he was wondering how Fu was doing with the chameleons. He found himself missing her more than he thought he would, more than he did Sakura. When he thought about it, he enjoyed being around her more than he did Sakura, too. "Hey kid, what are you doing out here by yourself?" Gamakichi asked. He was probably Naruto's best friend among the toads. He had grown a lot since Naruto last saw him, now being about 4 feet tall. Oh, nothing, just thinking." "About that girl you've been traveling with?" Gamakichi asked with a smirk. What? No. Hehe, yeah right. But I thought that pink-haired girl was your main squeeze." "Yeah, well she likes someone else," so Naruto trailed off sadly. "Ah man, that's rough," Gamakichi said. "Anyway, what do you think of that girl?" "Huh. Well, she's been through the same things I have and I like spending time with her. Actually, I think I might like being around her more than Sakura." "That's so?" Gamakichi smirked. "Wait, you mean she's a Jinchuriki?" "Huh, that's interesting. So, what were you thinking about?" "It's nothing. Just forget about it." Over the next 2 months, The Jinchuriki met many of the toads and chameleons and learned their specific abilities and how to work with them, and use their abilities as well as collaborative techniques. Naruto also had the misfortune of being invited to Ma and Pa's for dinner. Jiraiya wisely made an excuse and got out of going himself. Fu learned to imitate the chameleon's camouflage abilities, though even with half her clones focusing on it, it took her a month. Like the chameleons, she could completely hide her presence, though sensors and dojutsu users could still find her. She had also found some unique species of insects in the chameleon's forest. Thanks to the Nanabai, unlike the Aburame and Kamizura clans, she wasn't limited to one species of insect, and she took 2 of those species into her body in addition to the chakra-eating beetles she already had. As Jiraiya's scroll instructed, the clones that weren't helping her learn to work with the chameleons and use their abilities were mainly focusing on water jutsu. Fu discovered that, after training with that 5-pronged seal for 5 months, she was able to pull water out of the moisture in the air for her jutsu, though it was easier to use bodies of water. Naruto found that, thanks to his skill with wind chakra control, he could use some of his sword's abilities, such as creating wind blades, without it. All their other skills showed normal improvement. Jiraiya also made sure Naruto's strategic skills had improved and that he understood what it meant to lead a mission and beat him into the ground some more to increase his combat experience and his ability to read his opponent's moves. In addition, the pair began to learn sealing jutsu. Naruto under Jiraiya and Fu from Jiraiya's instructions and books on the art included in the scroll the pervert had given her. However, the pair found this to be the hardest thing they had learned next to controlling their tenant's powers. They got basic seals like standard storage seals rather easily, but Fu had trouble after that. Naruto had a natural talent for it, not surprising given his heritage, but it was still difficult for him even with his shadow clones. Today was the day they got back together. Naruto and Jiraiya had been summoned by one of the stronger toads just outside Konoha about a week ago, and had made their way to their meeting place, a clearing he selected in the Land of Fire just outside the border of the Land of Rivers. As they walked into the clearing, they found Fu sitting on a stone looking in their direction. Her insects had alerted her to their approach. "Took you long enough," Fu said with a smirk as she got off the rock and walked to the 2. "Good to see you. I miss you guys." "Same here, Fu," Naruto said with a smile. After their reunion was over, they explained what they had learned to each other. 2 days later, Naruto and Fu were sparring in a clearing by a river. Their clones were training as usual down the river. Both were wearing Jiraiya's 4 limbs weighting seals. The sun was beginning to set, and they were just about done for the day, the weight seal beads on their arms already red and ready to come off. Both their taijutsu styles relied on the speed they had gained while training with the weight seals, but Naruto's focused on strength, whereas Fu used her flexibility to gracefully avoid attacks and counter. Not that her blows weren't strong too. The 2 traded blows for a while. Naruto was more skilled at taijutsu, but Fu's style gave her the advantage. While he blocked most of Fu's attacks and this was wearing him down, Fu dodged his attacks. Naruto was on the ropes. The spar ended when Fu ducked under a punch and grabbed his arm. Fu flipped him over her shoulder. Naruto landed on his back and Fu pinned him to the ground, sitting on his waist. "Looks like I win, Naruto," Fu said with a smirk. "Yeah, but..." "Huh? Can you get up?" Naruto asked with a blush. Fu looked confused before she realized how she had positioned herself, and jumped back with a blush of her own. Before either had a chance to break the awkward silence, they heard footsteps and saw Jiraiya walk out of the tree line, having seen the whole thing, with a smirk. "I didn't expect you two to move so fast," Jiraiya said. It's not like that, Ero-sensei," Fu said, her blush deepening. "Yeah, stop thinking like what the..." Naruto yelled the last part as he saw something in the river out of the corner of his eye. "You're going to have to better than that to distract me, kid," Jiraiya said. "I'm not trying to, you old perv. There's someone in the river," Naruto shouted as he ran to the river. Jiraiya and Fu looked to the river in shock and saw what he had seen, 3 men floating in the river unconscious. What the hell? 10 minutes later, the 3 had been looked over. Jiraiya decided it was a good time to test what they had learned about the local herbs and first aid from their readings, and they had done a fairly good job of patching the 3 up, though Fu proved better at it. After they got up, they told the 3 men their names. "Thanks, you may have saved our lives," one of the men said. "You're welcome. So, who are you guys anyway? And how did you wind up in the river?" Naruto asked, and was surprised to see his question dampen their spirits. After a moment, one of the men spoke up. "My name is Rokusuk and we're miners from Katabami, a village in the Land of Rivers. I know you just saved our lives, but please, I beg you to help us again. You have to help us get to Konohagakure." "Katabami?" Jiraiya asked with a raised brow. "Oh yeah, that village with the gold mine. Why are you in such a hurry to Konoha? Is there trouble? Our village has been taken over by a gang called the Kurasuki family. They force us to work the mine regardless of our health. The weather, we're basically slaves, Rokusuke said. I see, the sage said. If you understand, then please, we have to get to Konoha quickly, Kenpachi is. Rokusuke, come on. It hurts, but by now he's gotta be, one of the men said sadly as he placed his hand on Rokusuke's shoulder. What happened to him? Fu asked. The leader of the Kurasuki family, Raiga, has funerals for everyone who displeases him. One of the other men said, his eyes downcast as funerals for friends pass before his eyes. He buries them alive and then cries over them as if they were a close friend. The teen ninja were shocked and scandalized by this. Jiraiya's eyes narrowed. In his long career, he had seen worse things happen to innocent people. Of course, his teammate had been Orochimaru. The whole situation reminded Naruto of the Land of Waves. We managed to escape when he was holding one of these funerals for our friend, but by now. That's terrible. Sounds like this guy's crazy. Wait, Raiga? Raiga Kurasuki? Naruto asked. Jiraiya had him and Fu memorize Konoha's bingo book and a few others versions of the bingo book not distributed in ninja villages during their readings, and he recognized the name. He had to admit it was a good idea as he recalled the hapless fools who picked a fight with Jiraiya, not recognizing him until they heard his name. Yeah, how do you know him? He asked, a little fearful. They didn't seem the type, but if they were somehow affiliated with him, they were screwed. Then they noticed Naruto's forehead protector. Wait, you three are from Konoha? Yeah, we're on a training trip under Jiraiya of the Sannin. Naruto said, gesturing to Jiraiya. He didn't use his nickname for the pervert because he thought it wouldn't inspire much confidence from the three. Had the situation been different, Jiraiya would have smirked at being called something other than pervy sage by the blonde. To answer your question, we recognize him from the bingo book. Fu explained. Bingo books are books that, in general, list dangerous ninja. Raiga is an A-class missing nin from Kirigakure, the second highest level of ninja, and he has a 20 million Ryo bounty on his head. He's also a former member of the 7 Ninja Swordsmen of the Mist, a group made of the greatest sword-wielding ninja in Kiri. The three were shocked to hear how high Raiga's bounty was. How we can't very well just leave them like this, Jiraiya said. So kids, what do you say? How about we help them out? His apprentices smiled confidently and nodded. Are you crazy? You can't take him on by yourselves, Rokusuke said. Listen, remember when Fu here said Raiga was the second highest level? Well, I'm an S-class ninja, the highest class. Trust me when I say I can handle anything he and his group can throw at me, Jiraiya said, and the trio of miners' eyes widened when they heard this. Let's use this to see how you've improved. I'll watch over the mission, and if things go south, I'll be there to bail you out. Sound good? You got it. You guys ready to go? We've got a village to save, Naruto said with a grin. A day later, the group was walking down a path in a forest towards the village of Katabami. As they went, they were told more of the conditions the Kurasuki clan put them in, and Rokusuke constantly complaining about the speed they traveled at. It seemed he was still holding out hope that their friend was alive even after being buried for so long, but his friends were more realistic and tried to make him see the truth. It was near sunset when they walked out of the forest and saw a curry shop by the side of the road. What's this? Curry of Life shop, huh? We can use that as our base. Let's see if we can spend the night here and get to business in the morning, Jiraiya said as they came to the shop and entered. An old woman who was cleaning the counter looked up when they walked in. Well, it's been a while since anyone's come here. I'm Sancho, welcome, please take a seat. Would you like me to fix you something or you just want to rest a bit? The woman said with a smile. Thanks, I think we'd all like a bite to eat. How about the house special? Jiraiya asked. Sure, I'll have some of my special curry ready in a minute, Sancho replied as she turned to a cooking pot. A few minutes later, they were all seated at 2 tables, Jiraiya and his students at one and the miners at another. Before them each was a glass of water with a spoon. So, that mountain we saw was the Katabami gold mine? Naruto asked. That's right. So, what do you plan to do? Well, tomorrow, we'll scout out the village, try to get an idea how many enemies there are, their positions and level, that kind of thing, then we'll come up with a plan of attack, Naruto said. He really is a bit more mature. The old Naruto would probably have wanted to just charge and head first, thinking everything would turn out okay. Jiraiya thought to himself with a grin. Just then, Sancho walked to their tables with trays. Here you are. It's my specialty, the curry of life, the old woman said as she placed their plates on their tables. The sauce was black and bubbled, obviously spicy to an extreme. The group looked down at the curry before Naruto, Fu and the miners turned to Jiraiya and glared at him slightly. What are you all looking at me for? Jiraiya asked as he noticed the glares. Isn't it obvious? Fu asked. You're the one who ordered this, Naruto said. Yes, well, let's just eat. We don't want to seem ungrateful, Jiraiya said, obviously not too pleased either, and the others reluctantly nodded before they all took a spoonful of the curry and slowly took their first bites. Then all their faces turned bright red and their eyes bulged. Seconds later, screams of pain could be heard outside the shop. Everyone was paralyzed by the intense spices for a moment before the ninja recovered and quickly grabbed their glasses and drank half the water in one gulp, gasping for breath afterwards. The miners still hadn't recovered. Wow, that's some curry, Jiraiya said to their host. Why, thank you, it's famous around these parts. I remember the last Konoha ninja who came through here. He collapsed from exhaustion, but one spoonful of my curry and he was wide awake. Sancho replied with a smile. Yeah, I'll bet, Naruto said. I don't think anyone could sleep through that. So, you're here by yourself? You don't have anyone to help out around here? Naruto said, thinking about using his shadow clones to help out. It might save them a bill, not that they couldn't pay, and it would be nice to help out the old woman. Sancho looked down sadly. Well, I do have a son, Karasher, but he went off to join that Kurisuke family, she said sadly as she closed her eyes, thinking of her son. I shouldn't have pushed him, always telling him to be strong and to stand up for himself. What? Are you saying he just left you here to worry about him? Fu was surprised. The jerk, don't worry, Grandma Sancho, we'll get him back for you, Naruto said. Oh, you don't need to trouble yourselves. It's no trouble. We're here to take care of these guys anyway, so it's not like we'll be going out of our way or anything, Naruto replied, and the shop owner smiled. Thank you, young man. You can stay here the night, free of charge if you like, Sancho said. That night, Naruto and Jiraiya stayed in one room while the miners slept in another, and Fu had her own room. Naruto was sitting on his bed and Jiraiya was looking out the window, both slightly tense. Something told them something was off. In her room, Fu had a similar feeling. Suddenly, the three heard loud footsteps down the hall. This is terrible, shouted one of the miners just before he opened the door to Naruto and Jiraiya's room. Rokusuke's gone. He must have headed to town on his own. Fu threw open the door of her own room when she heard this. Damn, at this rate, he'll get himself killed. So much for strategy, if we take our time now, he's dead, Naruto said as he stood up. Let's go. We need to hurry, Fu said. Rokusuke ran towards the village, intent on digging up his friend, hoping against all odds that he had somehow survived all this time. Unbeknownst to him, he was sensed by Raiga's partner, Ranmaru, as Raiga stood on a cliff overlooking the town. Someone's coming, Raiga, Ranmaru said from his place on the swordsman's back. A pity, it seems we'll have to hold another funeral, Raiga said sadly, sniffling a bit at the end. It was early morning when Rokusuke finally made it to his village. The sun had barely begun to rise. He snuck in as quietly as he could and was trying to dig his friend out. He sat there at his grave on his knees, his hands bruised from digging, but he didn't care. Hang on, Kanpachi, I'll get you out, Rokusuke said. Need a hand? A voice asked. Rokusuke looked up and saw he was surrounded by 7 black cloaked and hooded figures. He yelled out in shock and fell back, knowing there was no escape. Naruto and Fu rushed towards the village. Fu was cursing herself for not placing an insect on the man to track him. They had both seen the way he was acting. Although they thought he would be smarter than this, she should have taken a precaution. As they ran through the forest, Fu sent out a wave of insects ahead of them to collect whatever information they could before they arrived. They reached the village a few minutes later and looked down to see a group of villagers being forced into harsh labor while 4 black-cloaked men, members of the Kurisuke family as they had been described, watched over them. Their eyes narrowed as they saw these people. Like the miner had told them, they were basically slaves. They had little to no rights. While they watched, several of Fu's insects flew to her, and she held up her hand and allowed them to land on her arm. How many are there? Naruto asked, and Fu paused for a moment as the insect relayed all the information it had gathered to her. There are a total of 14 spread throughout the town. 9 of them are together, those 4 down there and 1 off by himself. Most of them have low Chunin level chakra. 1 has less than the average genin, that's probably Karasher, and the one on his own has mid-jonin level reserves. That one must be Raiga, Fu said, frowning as the insect informed her of something odd. But there's a second chakra signature on Raiga. What do you mean? Naruto asked with narrowed eyes. It's like there's someone strapped to his back under his cloak. Fu responded. Before either could ponder the meaning of this, their eyes widened as an old man who was being forced to work was suddenly unable to stand anymore. He fell over and all the raw ore he was carrying was spilled on the ground. The 4 thugs surrounded and threatened old man with a funeral if he didn't pick up the ore and get back to work. Alright, looks like that's our cue. Let's try to take these 4 out as quietly as we can, Naruto said, and Fu nodded before they each made a hand sign and created a single shadow clone. The now 4 teens then traveled underground with a jutsu. The 4 thugs watched with smirks, some laughing as the man frantically gathered the spilled ore before their eyes widened as 4 pairs of hands shot out of the ground and grabbed their ankles. They didn't even have time to cry out in shock before they were pulled deep underground, where they were covered in and drained dry of chakra by Fu's insects, their cries muffled by the ground. The old man looked where the men stood in disbelief for a few moments before Naruto, Fu, their clones, and the unconscious criminals emerged from the ground in front of him. Okay, tie these guys up and cover their mouths, Naruto ordered the clones as he threw them some rope. You alright, old man? You, what have you done? The man said fearfully. They'll give me a funeral for sure. Don't worry, we'll take care of them, Fu said before they all looked up as they heard a gong. What's that? Did we set off an alarm? Naruto asked. No, it's a summon. They're calling us to a funeral, the old man said. A funeral, do you think? Naruto asked Fu. Rokusuk, Fu said. She then mentally called out to her insects, calling one back for an update. Yes, I heard they captured him this morning. The last 9 members of the gang should be over there, Fu said. What about Raiga? Naruto asked as the insect returned, and she reached out her hand and let it land on her finger. He's not there, he must still be off on his own somewhere, Fu replied. Alright, come on, let's save this guy and take out all of the underlings while we're at it, Naruto said, and Fu nodded before Naruto turned to their clones. You two make sure these guys don't do anything funny. Raiga looked down on the funeral from a cliff. He loved funerals, they brought people together in mourning and remembrance. I remember when I first met Rokusuk, it's a happy memory, Raiga said. Is it? Ranmaru asked. Yes, I remember the smile he gave when we liberated the gold mine, that's how I'll always remember him, Raiga replied as tears fell from his eyes. Will you hold a nice funeral for me too? Don't talk like that. You're not going to die. Besides, I don't need a funeral to recall all the good times we've shared. Raiga, they're coming. Good, I want to see who he brought to rescue him, Raiga said as he wiped the last of his tears away. There are 3 of them, one of them seems to be watching, be careful, Raiga, Ranmaru warned. Even Jiraiya couldn't hide from his abilities. Don't worry, I will, after all, you'll be there with me. Naruto and Fu arrived to see the group of thugs in a large graveyard digging a grave for Rokusuk. They frowned as they watched them prepare to bury the man alive and thought that all these graves marked where someone suffered the same fate. Already having a plan, the 2 created 4 shadow clones each. The Jinchuriki and 3 of their clones then spread out silently using Earth-style, underground move jutsu. After moving into position, they waited a few more moments before making their move. Several of the thugs chuckled to themselves as they dug the newest grave before they sensed something. They turned to see a pair of teens rushing them. They charged to meet them and were shocked when everyone who met the 3 ahead of the group were all defeated in seconds. They were weak by ninja standards, many genin could defeat them, but it was still more than enough to subdue a village of civilians. One jumped to the side to avoid an axe kick from Fu, only to suddenly be finding a whip of water wrapped around his waist and arms. He barely had time to voice his surprise before electricity flowed through the water, and he was shocked into unconsciousness. Another was suddenly blasted away by a powerful ball of wind. 2 more clones came out of the ground in between them, separating the remaining criminals. The thugs were quickly dealt with. In under a minute they were all on the ground unconscious. Huh, that was easy, Naruto said. They had decent reserves, but they were poorly trained, Fu observed. Alright, you guys get Rokusuk out of there. The clones all ran towards the coffin the miner was locked in. As they did, Naruto looked over at the last remaining gang member standing. He was using a grave marker to shield himself. So, I'm guessing you're Sancho's son, Karasher, Fu said as she looked at the young man. Huh, yeah, what of it? Karasher asked, crossing his arms and acting tough now that they weren't hostile. How can you just leave that nice old lady alone like that? Do you know how much she's worried about you? Naruto frowned at him. So what? Besides, their leader is a great man, he liberated this village. What's your definition of liberating? Fu asked. This is basically slavery. How can you work for these people? Because now I'm part of something powerful. Really? So are you strong now? You hid behind your allies and let them do all the fighting for you, Naruto said. Either you're still weak, or deep down you know this is wrong. Karasher looked up at him. Besides, if you really want to be strong, then you need to be able to stand up for yourself. And what is it you plan to do with that strength? Do you really want to be strong at a cost like this? What if your mother did something to anger Raiga? Would you just stand by and let them bury her too? Karasher knew they were right, but he was still too afraid to go against the Kurasuke or try to stand on his own. He decided to act like he had truly seen the error of his ways and see which way the wind blew. You're right, I've been a fool. Please forgive me, Karasher begged. Fine, Naruto said as his and Fu's clones walked to them with Rokusuke. Both saw through Karasher but knew he wasn't strong enough to really do anything. Alright, you guys know the drill. Tie them up, stay here and watch over them. Rokusuke, you alright? Yeah, thanks for saving my life again. I'm sorry, but I just couldn't leave my friend buried alive like that, Rokusuke said. I understand for what it's worth. I'm sorry we couldn't save him, Fu said, and the miner nodded. I shouldn't have to tell you to stay here. The green-haired girl then walked over and looked around before looking up at a cliff. That's all of them, all that's left is Raiga. Good, then let's finish this, Naruto said as the moved at ninja speed up the cliff, leaving behind the miner, the thugs, the wannabe, and their clones. Naruto and Fu arrived at the top of the cliff and looked around. They were on a rocky plateau and seemed to be alone. Do you know where he is? Not yet, Fu replied. She sent a command to her insects to return and update on Raiga's position. Suddenly, a thick mist appeared out of nowhere. I know this, it's the hidden mist jutsu, Naruto said as he looked around. Fu nodded, having read about the technique, and sent out a swarm of her insects. Raiga looked down on them from a ledge overlooking the plateau, observing the two teens that had decimated his gang. What do you think, Ranmaru? It's incredible. They have enormous chakra reserves. One of them seems to be manipulating insects. My illusions won't work on them, Ranmaru said. I see. Are you ready, Ranmaru? Yes, Raiga. Fu had called back one of the insects that had managed to land on Raiga when she sent them out. She looked up at the nearby cliff. Up there, Fu said, pointing to the cliff. Got it. Wind style, great breakthrough, Naruto called out before he unleashed a gust of wind that blew away the mist and tore across the plateau towards Raiga. Raiga skipped backwards and focused chakra to his feet to anchor himself to the ground. He held up his arms to shield his face as the blast of wind hit. Raiga grunted with effort as he channeled as much chakra as he could to keep from being blown away. While he and Ranmaru had been talking about Rokusuke's funeral and watching the following events, the insects Fu had tagged him with, 12 in total and 10 still remaining, had been draining his chakra. While such a small amount of the bugs could only do so much, they had been working on Raiga for a while now. Naruto and Fu kicked off as fast as they could towards the cliff and quickly ran up to where Raiga stood as the mist began to cover the area again, drawing their swords as they went. Naruto reached the top first, jumped into the air and came down with a downward slash meant to cut Raiga in half. Raiga brought his blades, covered in bandages, together in an X formation to block and channeled lightning through them as Naruto channeled wind through his. The blades met with a clang and the two stood their ground. You seem strong and your eyes show such determination, Raiga said. I may hold a funeral for you after this is over. You're the one who's going to need a funeral, pal, Naruto said before the both jumped back. Naruto slashed his sword repeatedly, creating 3 blades of wind, but was shocked when he heard a young voice predict his movements and warn Raiga, who then easily dodged his attacks. Raiga! Behind you! The voice called out, and Raiga spun around to block a flame-covered slash from Fu. Fu summoned a water blade to her left hand while holding Okibi no Yaiba in her right and mimicked Raiga, canceling the fire and channeling lightning through her swords, and the two clashed in a fierce exchange of swordplay. Fu had a speed advantage, but Raiga's ally predicted her every move and warned him, allowing him to dodge each strike before Naruto joined the fray. Raiga quickly found himself outmatched trying to fight the pair together. He channeled as much chakra into his legs as he could and jumped back. After about a dozen feet before he impaled his Kiba blades into the ground, not only to slow him down but also to prepare an attack. Lightning Funeral, Feast of Lightning! Raiga yelled before a wave of lightning bolts cut through the ground towards them. Naruto countered with a slash of his Hisho Taichi, unleashing his Tempest Wind attack. The whirlwind tore across the ground and dispersed the lightning. Fu slashed her sword, creating several dragons of fire as Naruto charged forward. The dragons twisted around him and flew towards Raiga. As Raiga dodged the first 2, the third reared up and dive-bombed him, and he jumped back to dodge. Raiga, he's right in front of you using the flames as cover, Ranmaru warned, and Raiga brought his swords together. Ninja art, lightning ball, Raiga yelled, and he threw a ball of pure lightning at the blonde. The ball hit as Naruto came out of the remnants of the fire and electrocuted him. He's a clone, Ranmaru yelled, and Naruto turned to smoke. To your right, Ranmaru warned, and Raiga turned to see a twisting cyclone carving a path towards him. He jumped to the side and Naruto lunged forwards, intent on impaling the man. Raiga blocked with his left blade and attacked with used his right to attack with a stab of his own. Without Fu's aid, Naruto quickly found himself on the defensive as Raiga's two swords gave him an advantage. Raiga went for a downward slash but had to disengage and jump back to dodge another fire dragon before being attacked from two sides from Naruto and Fu. He dodged a stab aimed at his stomach from Fu and blocked a slash from Naruto. However, Naruto followed up that slash with a kick that Raiga barely managed to dodge. Unfortunately for the swordsman, the kick hit the bag on Raiga's back and Ranmaru was sent flying. Raiga! Ranmaru called out. Ranmaru! Raiga yelled, worried about his only friend. Without Ranmaru's aid and now running dangerously low on chakra, he was now at a serious disadvantage and was quickly overwhelmed by Naruto and Fu's combined swordplay. Fu covered her blade with flame and slashed downwards at Raiga, who blocked with both his blades, leaving him open to an upward diagonal slash from Naruto. He skipped backwards but suffered a shallow cut across his stomach and chest from Naruto's sword. Fu sheathed her sword and made a hand sign, creating three shadow clones who threw shuriken as they drew their swords and charged. Do you really think that will help you? Raiga yelled, and raged at the loss of Ranmaru as he deflected the projectiles. Ranmaru, hang on! I'll come and get you as soon as I'm finished here. Raiga blocked a slash from a clone when the clone he had locked blades was smirked. Before he could react, the three clones exploded, sending him flying back and leaving him wide open as Naruto lunged forward. Don't! Ranmaru yelled, but it was too late, and Naruto impaled Raiga through the chest. Raiga coughed up blood and looked weakly at his opponent. I guess I'll be the one needing the funeral after all, Raiga said as he coughed up more blood. Hey, please take care of Ranmaru. These were the swordsman's last words. His body went limp as he said them and he breathed his last, his swords falling to the ground. Naruto and Fu looked at the man, slightly remorseful. Both of them had realized whoever was helping him was likely a close friend. Naruto created a clone, ordered it to seal up the body and the swords in two separate scrolls before he and Fu walked over to where Ranmaru lay on the ground in a bag. Fu's insects swarmed around the bag, ready to attack if whoever was inside proved hostile. So, this is who was helping Raiga? He must have a dojutsu, Naruto said as he walked over. Fu nodded and she unzipped the bag, revealing the boy. You're the one who was helping him? Fu asked, surprised to see he was so young, but what truly surprised them was the look in the boy's eyes. A look they had seen in their own, a look of someone who had no meaning in their life. Someone with no reason to live. Yes, we were together since that day, Ranmaru began before he told them of how he had met Raiga. That day? Naruto asked. I lived in a village, in a shabby cabin. I've always been frail and I have no memory of my parents. I survived only because the other villagers took pity on me and left me food. But even though I was so weak, I had a power no one else had. My eyes allowed me to see the outside world, but when they found out about that power, they stopped helping me. I would have starved to death, had it not been for Raiga. One day, he and a group of ANBU came to the village in search of a trader. With my eyes I saw him, crying. He, too, had no meaning in his life. He took pity on me and took me with him. From that day forward, I was his eyes and he was my arms and legs. We've always been together ever since. But now that he's gone, my life has no meaning. The Jinchuriki's eyes widened as they heard this. Naruto was reminded of Haku, the boy who had put him on his path and taught him what was truly important. You have a job, don't you? Please finish it. You can't be serious, Fu said. Ranmaru, I knew someone just like you once, Naruto said sadly. Ironically enough, he also helped one of the 7 swordsmen. Fu remembered hearing this before. He was Zabuza's apprentice Haku. He saw himself as nothing but a tool and thought that, once his usefulness to Zabuza was outlived, his life would lose all meaning. When I beat him and he thought he wasn't strong enough to remain Zabuza's tool, he asked me to kill him. Then you've already heard this before. I can't go on alone, without a purpose, Ranmaru said, looking up to the sky. Is that what Raiga would want? Naruto asked and Ranmaru turned to him. Ranmaru, both of us know what that's like, Fu said. We were both shunned in our villages for reasons we had no control over. Almost no one cared about us. Most people just wanted us gone. We had nothing to live for, until we found people who understood and accepted us. Ranmaru Raiga's last words were to ask us to make sure you lived on. If you don't want to continue living for yourself, do it for him. But I can't go on alone like this. Then find new people who accept you, Naruto said. There are lots of people here who would help you. I'm sure the old woman at the curry shop outside of town would treat you like family. And you could always come to Konoha. Unlike Kiri, they love bloodline holders there, and I'm sure Grandma Tsunade could help you with your illness. Ranmaru said nothing. Well, at least give it a shot,